The azure sky shattered like glass as monstrous hordes descended upon our world. Devastation followed their path, and survivors were banished into deadly, supernatural labyrinths. The only way home? Conquer the maze and unite to purge the apocalypse. Yet, even at death's door, human greed poisoned the hope for any salvation. Egos clashed as every survivor fought for dominance rather than fighting the monsters. Internal wars erupted just to crown a leader. Then came Kang Tae-san. He conquered his labyrinth alone, returning with the aura of a true legend. Respected by all, yet he survived on meager, cold potatoes in this wasteland. During a meal, a thunderous roar echoed another arrogant conqueror had finally arrived. This newcomer sought the throne, brutally wounding any soldier who dared stand trial. Disrupted by this brat, Tae-san rose, his patience reaching its absolute limit. The youth ignored every warning, his eyes filled with madness and savage pride. With a brutal strike, he attacked an elder. Tae-san's fury finally ignited. Handing his potato to a friend, the legend stepped out to teach manners. The world is already ending, kid. Stop acting like a low-level thug. Diplomacy failed. The challenger sneered, demanding a duel to prove his fake superiority. Overconfidence blinded the boy, believing he could easily crush an easy-mode player. Tae-san beckoned him like a stray dog. The enraged boy drew steel. Flame strike, activated. He lunged, aiming to incinerate the protagonist in one blow. The fiery blade swung with mountain-splitting power, but Tae-san didn't even move. Dust exploded everywhere. As it cleared, the brat's eyes widened in pure horror. Tae-san stood unfazed, catching the legendary blade with only 3 bare fingers. Is that it? He sighed. Jang Eun's confidence shattered like fragile, thin glass. Realizing the monstrous power gap, the challenger's body began to tremble with fear. To crush that arrogance, Tae-san gathered a massive surge of internal energy. A devastating punch landed squarely in the brat's gut, shaking the very earth. Using energy absorption, Jang Eun barely survived, mocking the protagonist's supposedly weak strike. He thought he was safe. Little did he know, Tae-san was holding back. Time for the real lesson. Tae-san activated his hidden SSS rank attributes. Attack power doubled, defense penetration, 100%. The boy's face turned pale. Sensing his impending death, the once proud warrior began to beg for his life. But the hammer had fallen. Tae-san prepared to deliver the final judgment. Realizing defense was useless, Jang Eun realized his end was finally near. Tae-san slammed him down, using a technique that shattered the surrounding ground. A massive shockwave erupted, engulfing the battlefield in a storm of pure destruction. Total damage, 4,604. The arrogant boy lay broken. Why, he cried. Why return if the world is still a monster-infested hell? His words echoed the despair of every human lost in this cruel game. No one had the answers. They only had the duty to survive. The duel was over. Tae-san simply walked back to reclaim his potato. As the loser was dragged to the infirmary, Tae-san remained cold. A meaningless victory. There was no glory in fighting humans while Earth burned. He finished his meal. Cold potatoes were the only fuel for his war. His friend followed, begging to learn the secrets of his godlike power. Just keep grinding, Tae-san muttered, his eyes fixed on the darkening horizon. Tae-san finishes his meal just as a stunning beauty arrives, hauling a mountain of treasures. This is Jian, a top-tier player with a goddess-like physique that commands everyone's attention. In her private chamber, surrounded by relics, Tae-san sighs at the sight of these useless trinkets. With the world teetering on the edge of extinction, why waste time collecting museum artifacts? While monsters overrun the earth, the world's strongest woman is busy looting ancient history. Jian smirks, claiming everyone needs a passion to survive this hell. What's your hobby, Tae-san? Cutting the small talk, Tae-san demands to know why the strongest player summoned him here. She brings up today's anomaly, an easy-mode player absolutely crushing a hard-mode veteran. To prove her point, she reveals her own overwhelming stats, level 258. Her attack and defense numbers are monstrous, cementing her status as the world's ultimate apex. Tae-san stares blankly, wondering if she's just trying to flex her power in his face. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he opens his own system window to check his progress. Level 57, Attack 49, HP 1021, a complete joke compared to hers. On paper, Jian could erase him with a flick, yet he somehow defies all logic. Labyrinths are divided into 4 tiers: easy, normal, hard, and the legendary solo difficulty. Once a labyrinth is cleared, evolution ceases, creating an insurmountable wall between player ranks. A hard-tier player should technically vaporize Tae-san, yet none can even touch him. The secret lies in his arsenal, a collection of broken skills that defy the system's laws. To test him, Jian lunges forward, activating her lightened buffs to double her destructive power. A lethal strike rockets toward his face, But Tazan doesn't even blink at the incoming doom. He stands motionless, absorbing the impact with an aura that feels alien to this world. The shockwave shatters the wall behind him, yet Tazan remains completely unscathed and bored. Jian is speechless. He possesses god-tier skills like absolute judgment and miniature time stasis. When asked if he has 200 skills, he casually corrects her it's actually 230. She's baffled. They climbed the same tower, yet he found secrets no one else even imagined. Tazan just sighs, exhausted by the explanation. To him, this is all ancient, irrelevant history. Jian notes his wasted potential with skills like those. He should have conquered the solo path. Currently, his low stats prevent him from even using half of his legendary skill library. Get to the point, Tayson urges. I've been holding it in since I got here. Jian's expression darkens as she delivers the news. The next monster wave is imminent. Fear grips the room. Humanity's territory has been shrinking with every previous catastrophic assault. First came the fall of Seoul, then the massacre of hard players, leaving only one city. This fourth wave is the final nail in the coffin. Nothing will survive this onslaught. The enemy count is insane. 2 S ranks, dozens of A ranks, and an army of B rank horrors. Tayson grits his teeth. Even Jian can barely handle 1 S rank monster on her own. Now they face 2, backed by a legion of high-tier predators. Death is practically guaranteed. Jian tries to rally him, claiming Tayson is the only one who can solo those 2 S ranks. Tayson isn't having it. I'm not looking for an early grave, lady. Do it yourself. He turns to leave, mocking the idea of weaklings charging into a certain slaughterhouse. He leaves Jian standing there, her cold warning lingering in the air behind him. Facing 2 S ranks plus legions of A ranks is suicide, even for a legendary hunter. Jian insists there's no choice, but Tayson refuses to be a pawn in her war. He laughs off the suggestion of soloing the bosses, calling her joke completely tasteless. Frustrated, he heads for the exit, declaring he's done playing hero for the ungrateful. She watches him go, her expression turning cold as the apocalypse draws closer. Let the weak perish, they're just dead weight. Only legends like us matter in this hellscape. Tayson scoffs at such cruelty, stepping out into the chaos. Even a god-tier hunter isn't always listened to. His sister's fury erupts, her mana nearly shattering the room as her brother ignores her warning. Outside, the fourth wave looms. Despair chokes the air as hunters wonder if they'll survive the night. Despite his cold words, Tayson can't walk away. He takes his loyal subordinate to the front lines. A suffocating tension grips the city. Lightning tears the sky as the apocalypse draws its first breath. A deafening boom rends the fabric of reality. The dimensional rift surges wide, vomiting nightmares. Legions of abominations, serpents, dragons, and monsters beyond naming swarm the battlefield. No hesitation. Tayson leaps from the ramparts, leaving his comrade behind to face the tide alone. He vaults into the air, eyes scanning the horde like a predator marking his prey. 2 crimson markers flare on his display, the bosses. Without a shred of fear, he dives toward them. Steel meets flesh. Tayson draws a blade forged in high-rank dungeons, his eyes gleaming with bloodlust. I'll carve through every single one of you, he mutters, his confidence radiating like a god. The scan is complete. Target 1. A massive mushroom guardian with a mountain of health points. It's a defensive fortress, but its counterattacks pack enough punch to level a city block. One stomp shatters the earth, sending shockwaves that would pulverize any ordinary low-rank player. 148 million health? Tayson growls. This is going to take all day, damn it. He pivots mid-air, scanning the second S-rank threat lurking in the shadows. Target 2. A specialized long-range octopus beast with over 1 million health points. He marks the octopus as his first victim. Rank S or not, nothing survives his wrath. His base stats may be low, but his skill arsenal is light years beyond any modern hunter. A flash of silver, and the octopus's tentacles are sliced clean. Hot pot ingredients? Anyone? But the beast isn't done. It lashes out, a mountain of meat aiming for Tayson's skull. Tayson aims for the head, but the monster isn't just a mindless beast, it's a killer. Its maw opens, crackling with a terrifying electrical surge, a blast that could end it all. He activates absolute nullification, letting the lethal energy pass through him like a ghost. He charges through the smoke, but the beast retaliates with hundreds of lethal laser beams. With his future sight active, Tayson weaves through the light show like a dancer in the rain. After 49 desperate maneuvers, he finally buries his blade deep into its massive skull. Yet, an S-rank doesn't fall so easily. It screams in rage, its health barely budging. Enraged, the beast coils its tentacles to crush him, but Tayson's invincibility frames kick in. Another slash draws blood. The monster freezes, it can't comprehend why this human won't die. Tayson spots the lethal opening. Time to end this charade with a single, decisive strike. Suddenly, the Mushroom Guardian intervenes, throwing its massive body to shield its fallen comrade. Teamwork? From monsters? 𝒂𝒏 smirks. This just made the hunt much more interesting. The octopus cowers behind its tank, raining down lasers from the safety of its shield. It thinks it's safe? Cute. 𝒂𝒏 has over 200 ways to break their little alliance. He triggers Forced Duel, ripping the Mushroom Guardian into a private dimension of pain. Isolated and exposed, the octopus panics. Its protector has vanished into thin air. It fires lasers frantically at the void, but the dimensional barrier doesn't even flicker. The system rings. 60 seconds of isolation. Only the target can touch you. He misses his sister's explosive power. Doing the heavy lifting alone is a real pain, but his skills are more than enough. It's time to show them the power of a regressor. He activates his first buff, doubling his base damage. The air around him begins to burn. Next, his damage is squared. Finally, he readies Absolute Judgment, the end of the line. Completely disregarding his armor, 𝒂𝒏 stepped forward with absolute conviction to face the colossal S-rank fungal monstrosity. The beast lunged, revealing rows of razor-sharp fangs beneath its base, ready to tear him limb from limb. With his attack stats peaked, but defense at 0, 𝒂𝒏 knew a single graze meant certain death on the spot. Relying on sheer velocity, he blurred through the air, weaving past the monster's strikes to reach its gaping maw. He channeled every ounce of his being into a single, devastating strike, amplifying his power to legendary heights. By bypassing the creature's defenses entirely, he shredded its health bar until it began to crumble under his might. The explosion cleared, confirming the S-rank's demise. But the true nightmare, a gargantuan octopus, waited just outside the chamber. The moment he exited, a massive tentacle slammed into him, dealing 22,543 points of damage. Teetering on the edge of the grave, 𝒂𝒏 grit his teeth and activated his ultimate patience skill to survive. This desperate gambit reduced all incoming damage to 0 for 5 seconds, but his mana was dangerously low. The grueling war had drained him dry. Despite his powerful skills, his base energy was almost at 0. Left with a measly 21 points of mana, he had no choice but to rely on basic strikes. From the break of dawn until the deepest shadows of night, he slashed tirelessly at the Leviathan's hide. He painstakingly whittled down 12 million health points, until only a few 100,000 remained on the bar. Gasping for air at his absolute limit, 𝒂𝒏 watched the monster's life flicker like a candle in the wind. With a final roar of defiance, he threw his broken body forward to finish the fight once and for all. After a full day of hellish combat, the second S-rank Titan finally fell silent upon the blood-soaked battlefield. He delivered one last insurance strike before limping back, passing through a landscape of fallen comrades and shattered dreams. The sight of his best friend lying lifeless among the wreckage struck a chord of pure, unadulterated agony. Memories of their shared laughter and brotherhood flashed before his eyes, a precious bond now severed by fate. Nearby, the legendary strongest hunter, Xion, sat slumped against a boulder, her once vibrant presence now hauntingly still. Terror gripped him. What kind of god-tier monster could possibly bring a warrior like her to such an end? Suddenly, a vile black sludge bubbled from the earth, pooling into a dark void right before his eyes. It morphed into a humanoid devil with eyes like burning coals, sneering that 𝒂𝒏 was the next to die. But our protagonist wasn't done yet. He spat back. "Shut your damn mouth, you overconfident piece of trash." They locked eyes in a tense standoff, two warriors staring into the abyss of each other's killing intent. With his mana and body broken, savage insults were the only weapons 𝒂𝒏 had left to wield. The boss struck with a single, devastating punch, sending 𝒂𝒏 hurtling through the air with a shattered core. Even as the demon rained down blows, the system relentlessly chimed. Warning, health has reached 0%. The forced survival skill triggered, heartlessly forcing him to stay alive for one more minute of torture. Damn this system, he wheezed through a mouthful of blood. Just let me die instead of this mockery. The demon ignored his cries, slowly approaching Xion's body, as if to claim a final, disgusting prize. Seeing the monster near the fallen heroine, 𝒂𝒏's heart burned with a final, impotent rage against his weakness. He cursed his past self. If only he had chosen the solo difficulty, perhaps he would have the power. Rage boiled over against the other players. Their pathetic lack of effort had led them all to this. "How could you be so weak?" he screamed internally. "The maze turned you all into lazy, soft sheep. If they had sacrificed even half as much as he had, this tragedy would never have come to pass." Finally, accepting the inevitable, 𝒂𝒏 slumped into the dirt, waiting for the cold embrace of death to close. But then, a faint glimmer caught his eye, a glowing, mystical stone clutched in Xion's cold, stiff hand. Knowing she gave her life to protect it, He dragged his broken limbs forward to reach that mysterious light. He ignored the looming demon, focusing every last drop of his will on that one singular point of hope. Moved by his indomitable spirit, the system granted him one final wish: the use of any skill, unrestricted. Time stasis, he roared, and the world ground to a screeching halt as the skill surged to life. Within a 100-meter radius, time froze for 2 minutes, allowing him to finally grasp the glowing artifact. It was a great Sarira, an item of legend capable of reversing time itself for a single, final chance. Clutching the sacred Sarira, Taesan wondered where his sister found such a legendary relic. Why keep it a secret? Realizing he held the key to rewriting this doomed history, Taesan glared at the sky where the Demon King loomed. Dimensions buckled as the beast emerged. "Let's meet in the next life," Taesan whispered with a defiant, cold smirk. As the monster's maw closed in, he activated the relic. Reality shattered, and his tragic memories began to flood back. He recalled a childhood buried in resentment. He had actually believed his parents when they called him a worthless failure. That past fragility led him to choose easy mode before. But that weak version of himself was dead and gone. This time, he knew his true worth. With his future knowledge, humanity would finally claim their absolute victory. He awoke in his old, filthy apartment. To anyone else, it was a dump, but to him, it was a miracle. To confirm the regression, Taesan scrambled for his phone. The date on the screen proved the impossible was real: New Year's Eve. The countdown to the apocalypse had begun. In mere minutes, hell would descend upon the earth. Despite the looming carnage, he decided to enjoy one last moment of peace. It was time for a final feast. Finding a leftover pizza slice, he smothered it in sauce. He took a bite, savoring the taste of a lost world. After years of eating monster meat to survive, this was divine. Every bite felt like a luxury, from another lifetime. Wiping away the crumbs, a question haunted him. Why did his sister have this treasure and never use it himself? It made no sense. Why would she keep such a powerful artifact hidden until the very end? The mystery deepened. He stepped onto the balcony to watch the festive crowds. Everyone was celebrating, oblivious to the coming storm of blood. Laughter echoed through the streets as people cheered for the new year. They truly believed life would only get better. But fate had a cruel surprise in store. At that exact moment of joy, the great calamity finally struck. A thunderous explosion tore through the sky. Panic spread like wildfire as people mistook the invasion for the Third World War. Monsters poured from the rift like a violent waterfall. Taesan watched the slaughter with icy, unblinking eyes of a hunter. This was an unchangeable event. He remembered his past terror, but now he only saw a rank B scout beast. For a veteran of the apocalypse, this monster was nothing. A hard mode player could slay it without breaking a sweat. Seconds later, a glowing system window appeared before every human. The game of survival had officially begun for everyone. The message was clear. Your world is ending. Your primitive weapons are useless against the invaders from the void. But a merciful entity had granted a final chance. A choice was given to every soul left on the planet. Enter the great labyrinth to transcend your limits. Only by becoming strong could they hope to protect their dying world. The difficulty options appeared: easy, normal, hard, and solo. The system began detailing the consequences of each path. Easy mode offered safety for the weak. Normal was a balanced struggle with limited resources and very few rest areas. Hard mode was a brutal test of will. Survival was unlikely unless you possessed an unbreakable spirit and absolute focus. In hard mode, monsters would hunt you relentlessly. Food and rest were luxuries that few could ever hope to afford. A single moment of weakness meant a gruesome death. It was a path paved with the corpses of the fallen. Then there was solo mode, a path of total isolation where you would never encounter another human soul again. Surrounded by hostiles and non-player characters, only your luck and tactical genius would determine if you lived. Death is certain for those who cling to life, the system warned. It pleaded for users to choose easier paths. Knowing only solo mode offered the power to save the world, Taesan selected it without a single second of hesitation. He stepped into the portal, ready for a hellish landscape. Instead, he arrived in a surprisingly ancient, nostalgic city. The peaceful sound of birds chirping filled the air. It was a strange, tranquil start to his legendary quest for power. To gauge his situation, Taesan summoned the system interface. He needed to see if the community tab was active. The community was the only way to contact other players. In his past life, it was a goldmine of shared tactics. But since everyone was a clueless rookie right now, the chat was useless. It was mostly filled with panicked screaming. He closed the menu and began exploring the labyrinth. Soon, he found a lone figure dozing off in a corner. He recognized him immediately. This was the gatekeeper, the non-player character who guarded the entrance to the inner maze. In the lower difficulties, this man appeared as a harmless, frail elder. But Taesan knew better than to judge. The man's eyes snapped open as Taesan approached. "Ho? A challenger already?" I expected to wait at least a month. He recalled his sister's old stories. In easy mode, this man was nothing more than a sleepy, white-haired old grandpa. In solo mode, this old man radiates a younger, more terrifying aura than even Ron himself. If the gatekeeper is this powerful, what monsters lurk inside? Taesan remains eerily silent. The guard breaks the silence. "Welcome, challenger. I am Broken, your guide to this hell. I failed and became a mere gatekeeper. I assume you've heard rumors of this place? Your world is screaming as invaders destroy it. This is a mercy from the divine, though I'd prefer watching it all burn." Taesan listens, his mind racing with realization. This confirms it. These solo mode NPCs are real souls from worlds already destroyed. Brokan scowls at Taesan's calm demeanor. This rookie isn't reacting like a normal human. If he came from a peaceful world, he should be trembling in absolute terror right now. I wanted to break his spirit first, but he doesn't even blink at my threats. Resigned to his duty, Broken begins explaining the labyrinth, also known as the tower. There are 100 floors in total. Every 10 floors, the environment shifts drastically. You must scavenge for food and water. Information is the only currency that matters here. "Is that all?" Taesan asks. The sheer arrogance of the question leaves Broken speechless. "Go ask the merchants inside for details. I'm not a walking encyclopedia for rookies." With a flick of his wrist, the NPC summons a sword and spear from thin air. Brokan thrusts the spear toward Taesan's throat, a lethal test of his combat instincts. He stops inches from the kill. "I'll give you a chance, even if you're unskilled." Brokan hands over a rusty iron sword, laughing at the pathetic quality of the weapon. Since Taesan looks unimpressed, the guard tosses in a pair of worn-out leather gloves. Gear equipped. The gatekeeper warns that skills must be earned through blood and sweat. Taesan ignores the chatter and steps into the darkness, ready to exploit his future knowledge. Broken watches him go, stunned. That kid actually smiled as if he was coming home. I've seen geniuses crumble here, yet this man feels fundamentally different from the rest. It isn't just about raw skill. This man possesses the cold, calculated foundation of a survivor. Beyond this abyss, eternal glory awaits. Floor 1. The gateway to the eternal labyrinth. Monsters here are weak, but Taesan knows his trash gear won't carry him for long. Remembering his sister's advice, he ignores the mobs and hunts for the legendary merchant. The merchant is shocked. The server just opened. Yet a challenger already reached my shop? Taesan scans the empty stalls. Where is the legendary loot? This place looks totally empty. My inventory is too vast for this floor, and I don't show treasures to peasants. Is this some kind of joke? Taesan stares, making the merchant visibly lose his patience. I fled a fallen kingdom to protect these artifacts from unworthy hands. Leave at once. However, if you show me your true strength, I might consider making a deal. He points toward a dark basement. Survive the trial below, and I'll open my shop. Without a second of hesitation, Taesan accepts. His lack of fear leaves the merchant trembling. Taesan scanned the void. The merchant smirked, claiming his massive hoard surpassed the dungeon's very first floor. My treasures aren't for common eyes, the old man growled. Taesan stood there, staring in utter disbelief. A merchant who refuses to sell? This world felt like a broken game. The old man's brow furrowed deep. I fled a fallen kingdom because of those wretched beasts, he spat. Life had been a cruel, relentless nightmare. He refused to waste legendary relics on fools. Prove your worth, he whispered, and I might just reconsider everything. He gestured toward a dark, ominous cellar. Return from that abyss alive, and the true treasure is yours. The trial smelled of death, yet there was no turning back. Taesan prepared for the impossible task ahead. Eyes fixed on the shadows, Taesan accepted the quest. His resolve was absolute, devoid of even a single flinch. The old man froze in shock. Most would tremble, but this hunter possessed the aura of a true king. He should be trembling in fear, yet his eyes are cold and focused. Whatever time to strike. The merchant's life here is peaceful, but Taesan's legendary journey begins within this hidden dungeon. Floor 1 mirrors the easy mode layout, but this deceptive silence hides a truly deadly trap. While lost in thought, two crimson eyes glare from the abyss, locked onto his every breath. The torchlight reveals the predator, a mutated giant rat, a monster that haunts the deepest shadows. Starving and savage, the beast lunges forward, seeing our hero as nothing more than a meal. In easy mode, this was a Floor 5 boss. Here, it is merely a low-level mob. Distracted by his memories, Taesan takes a hit. Sharp teeth sink deep into his leg. He swings his blade, But the rat is a blur far too fast for a novice warrior. He recalls that it once took an entire raid team to bring this monster down. Alone and underleveled, his chances are 0. No wonder the others fled in pure terror. Of all the legends who cleared the first floor, not one dared to face these giants. The labyrinth rewards those who conquer the impossible. Great risk brings the ultimate divine glory. His goal is absolute power. To be the king, he must survive this blood-soaked encounter. Metal clashes with fur as the struggle intensifies. Tae-san ignores the pain, fueled by will. Sword strokes and stabs follow in rapid succession, yet he cannot land a single decisive blow. Brute force is failing him. He stops, utilizing his past knowledge to find a hidden weakness. Every living soul must breathe. Every strike has a tell. He waits for the monster's rhythm. The opening appears. The system flashes. Giant rat intimidated. Its lethal speed begins to falter. The creature hesitates, its primitive brain failing to grasp the shifting tide of this battle. It can no longer reach his ankles, so it aims higher, going straight for the throat. One clean bite to the neck means game over. He has only a second to react. Tae-san raises his leather-clad arm as bait, letting the beast sink its teeth in deep. Caught in the trap. A cold smirk plays on his lips as he prepares the execution. He pins the beast and drives his blade home. One life extinguished, one step toward destiny. The merchant's jaw drops as Tae-san returns, hauling the corpse of a floor 5 predator. While most struggle to survive, this rookie is already harvesting high-rank boss materials with ease. He pulls out 96% quality meat and a frost-resistant pelt, true treasures for a beginner. Are you buying? He asks. In this world, every single coin is a step towards survival. The merchant inspects the goods. Fresh, pristine, and perfectly harvested, the work of a true master. Not a scratch on the pelt. This is the skill of someone who has fought wars. Convinced of the boy's potential, the old man decides to unlock the shop's true secret inventory. Mana surges as a hidden wall crumbles, revealing a legendary heavy shield hidden from common eyes. Defense +5, attack +1. This iron wall can withstand a storm of heavy strikes. Tae-san's heart beats faster. In his past life, he only reached this tier on floor 7, but the price is 500 gold. He only has 243. Frustration boils within. He turns to leave, promising to return once he has bathed the dungeon in monster blood. Impressed by such resolve, the merchant tosses him the shield as a gift for the future. Since you have 250 gold, let me show you the real tools of trade. Potions of every hue and enchanted rings appear, a selection never offered to any rookie before. Don't overthink it, the old man grins. This is an investment in a survivor like you. Tae-san eyes the liquid treasures. Most are elixirs to boost raw power and supernatural speed. These are the lifeblood of any maze runner, vital for surviving the nightmares that lie ahead. Using his future knowledge, he knows exactly which bottle holds the key to his next awakening. In solo mode, these potions are legendary rarities. Owning them now is an absolute game changer. These shops are nothing but traps for the unwary. I must conserve my gold for essential survival gear. A long-range weapon is the ultimate problem solver. I'll take a bow to strike before they even breathe. Hassan tossed the coins, demanding the cheapest bow available to begin his legendary grind toward godhood. The merchant smirked, handing over the weapon. Listen, kid. Inside those walls, there is no natural healing. Only the fountain of life on floor 1 can mend your broken body. Use it as you please. He marked the map with a cryptic grin. A crazy old hermit dwells there, but you'll manage. Tassan was stunned. All this kindness just for slaying one rat? This timeline was already diverging wildly. He recalled Yon's past struggle. Back then, this merchant was cold, mocking her very existence near the fountain. Why the sudden respect? Was it his aura, or had his early victory earned him a seat at the table? Yeon fled like a coward, but I stood my ground. In this world, only results dictate your worth. With the merchant's favor secured, Tassan turned toward the abyss. His true conquest of the labyrinth begins now. While hunting, he monitored the world chat. Other players were drowning in despair, oblivious to the coming doom. Suddenly, the system flared. Warning. Unconscious absorption activated. Mind and body are merging into one divine vessel. Sacred energy etched into his soul. Psychic strengthening obtained. But a cold notification followed immediately after. The skill vanished. I'm not deep enough yet. I remembered the S-rank slaughter where my life almost ended. 150,000 health points vanished instantly. Had my sealed ultimate power finally begun its awakening? Time regressed, but my mastery remains eternal. When faced with an impossible wall, I simply break through. No more hesitation. I will march straight into the fire to become the undisputed king of this apocalypse. The fountain of life was within reach. Excitement surged, but the labyrinth never grants gifts without a price. Shadows shifted, 1, 2, then a massive swarm of giant rats surrounded him. Emergency, imminent danger detected, trapped in a corner. 𝒂𝒏 scanned the pack, his hunter instincts calculating 1,000 ways to kill them. 3 of these beasts could tear a man apart. They were mindless, yet they sensed their numerical advantage. 𝒂𝒏 smirked, manifesting his gifted shield from the inventory. It was time for a brutal lesson in power. The monsters froze in shock. Where did a mere human find such high-tier artifacts in this hellhole? Driven by primal hunger, the swarm lunged. A sea of fangs crashed against 𝒂𝒏's ironclad defense. With his shield, he was an immovable fortress. He began systematically crushing their skulls into the dirt. His level was skyrocketing. With every kill, his stats surged, transforming him into a literal engine of destruction. Within 60 seconds, the floor turned red. Only one survivor remained, trembling before the human predator. It made the ultimate mistake. It leaped at 𝒂𝒏, practically begging for a swift journey to the afterlife. Thanks for saving me the hunt. 𝒂𝒏 raised his shield. Slice. The final vermin was efficiently erased. Collecting his spoils, he stepped out of the darkness. The holy glow of the fountain finally shimmered ahead. Safe zone reached. All hostile entry is prohibited. Rest now, for the labyrinth is a cruel mistress. First discovery, Fountain of Life. For your pioneering spirit, permanent celestial rewards are now bestowed. Intelligence +1, mana +2. 𝒂𝒏 ignored the text, his eyes fixed on the rejuvenating waters. He took a deep drink. The mystical liquid flowed through his veins, igniting a sensation of pure vitality. A golden aura enveloped him. Every wound and scar from the previous battles vanished like morning mist. In this rare sanctuary of peace, 𝒂𝒏 decided to rest. He needed full strength for tomorrow's slaughter. At dawn, instead of a routine, he checked the chat to see the pathetic progress of other survivors. Despair filled every message. Without future knowledge, these poor souls were wandering blindly into their graves. They followed blind instinct, not strategy. 𝒂𝒏 realized most messages came from desperate, isolated solo players. While teams could coordinate, solo players were alone, their only lifeline being this flickering digital screen. He searched for Yone's profile. Even she, the future legend, seemed lost and confused in this nightmare. It was jarring to see the invincible Empress of the future acting like a terrified rookie today. Or perhaps she was always this fragile, masking her soul until the world forced her to harden. Just 24 hours since the world ended, and the new hierarchy was already beginning to take shape. Tower entry peaks in 1 month. Many souls still draw breath. Solo mode's rewards justify its brutal difficulty. She sacrificed much, yet after slaying the Lion King, she stood atop the world as the strongest player. 𝒂𝒏's body ached from the endless grind. Hunger gnawed at his gut. He pulled out a piece of rat meat. Without a refrigerator in this hell, the meat's quality had plummeted. It smelled of rot and decay. Starvation or sickness, a choice between 2 deaths. It looked repulsive, but a hunter cannot be picky. 𝒂𝒏 rinsed it and forced the raw, bacteria-ridden flesh down just to survive another hour. The tainted meat hit his stomach like lead. He was soon doubled over, vomiting his guts out in agony. System alert. Food poisoning detected. Health will drain rapidly for 2 days. Recovery items are now mandatory. Dying from diarrhea? What a pathetic end for a legend. This is a true nightmare for any rookie. Veterans always warn, cook your kills first. Luckily, the mystical spring nearby offered a glimmer of hope. But without fire, cooking was impossible. Desperate, 𝒂𝒏 gambled with his life in a truly reckless way. A bite of rot, a sip of holy water, a cycle of poison and purification that baffled the system. As the last scrap went down, the screen flickered. You have endured countless toxins. A resistance is awakening. Notification, passive skill, disease resistance acquired. Who knew getting poisoned could yield such a broken skill? It is only rank 1, restricted to food-based toxins for now. But for 𝒂𝒏, it was a golden ticket. Soon, I can devour monsters directly. No more wasting time with fires. This regression is paying off. If danger breeds power, I will dance with death. 𝒂𝒏 soaked in the spring, preparing for his next gamble. He plunged beneath the water, forcing himself to drown just to see what the system would grant. Just as his lungs were about to burst, the system chimed. You have survived a near-death suffocation event. New skill, breath holding. You have walked the border of the afterlife. New skill, life's borderline unlocked. 2 legendary skills for the price of 1. Gasping for air, Taesan laughed. This progress is insane. Day 1 and I am already stacked. The labyrinth's logic is failing before my future knowledge. Mastery level, 50%? That is impossibly high for a fresh skill. Yet others remain at 1%. This game's mechanics are complete chaos. In this maze, logic is a luxury I cannot afford to keep. If I can manipulate the system for skills, I won't stop now. The real grind starts here. Taesan unsheathed his blade. He began a lethal dance to see if his physical stats would evolve. Skill synthesis exists. When certain conditions align, a skill can evolve into something truly divine. You can only hold your breath so long while exerting explosive force. The pressure was mounting. Sweat poured as Taesan pushed past limits. His muscles screamed, but the reward was finally manifesting. System alert. Multiple complex actions performed in one breath. A special active skill has been forged. Skill, instant strike acquired. You now possess 10+ skills. Tier requirements are officially met. A flurry of movements yielded a treasure trove. Taesan stared at his blade, his excitement reaching fever pitch. Just as I predicted the rat's movements, every living being has a rhythm, a tempo to be broken. Instant strike makes this rhythm faster, more fluid, and impossible to counter. I am becoming a ghost. Reviewing his stats, Taesan made a decision. It was time to craft a main skill the system never intended. A main skill is worth 10 combined ones. It is the ultimate trump card to bridge stat gaps. It can multiply attack, power, or force a critical evolution. It is the key to absolute dominance. From negating fatal strikes to uncovering hidden weaknesses, the possibilities of a main skill are endless. Imagine stopping time itself. This power allows a player to overwhelm even much higher-level opponents. Obtaining it is a living hell. It usually requires multiple evolutions of basic scouting or combat skills. Full detection takes 3 stages of evolution, but for a regressor, the shortcut is already clear. Why wait? I will forge it now. To test his theories, Taesan returned to the rat-infested pits. Yesterday, these vermin nearly killed him. But today, the hunter has returned with a darker intent. He let the rats bite him, watching his health drop low. Will death's door open a new path? He slammed his shield against a charge. The system dinged instantly. You have acquired a new defensive skill. Skill block acquired. Harbinger of Death and Inner Serenity stats have climbed by 1 point. Yet, satisfaction remains far off. Facing death, Taesan refuses to heal, stubbornly pressuring the rat. In this labyrinth, obtaining skills is simple. You either inherit them or claim failed quest rewards. Alternatively, one can manifest power through sheer action. Mimicking an effect is the ultimate shortcut. Take Breathless, for instance. By holding my breath during combat, I unlocked a lethal strike. Now, I crave a skill to negate fatal blows. The method? Endure the monster's deadliest attacks. It is simple. Repeatedly tank the lethal strikes of these underworld beasts without dying. Since this is the solo dungeon's weakest floor, Taesan exploits this bottom-tier mob ruthlessly. Against stronger foes, this would be suicide. Finally, after 49 blocks, Fortitude awakens. This rare skill is now his. Purpose achieved, he sends the rat to its final rest. He pins its head, raising a hand in victory like he just cleared a legendary boss. After mastering new abilities, Taesan heads to the recovery spring to mend his battered body. While checking the world chat for intel, a mysterious elder with snow-white hair suddenly appears. Sudden danger. The system screams. Encountered a god follower. The air turns heavy with pressure. No monster dares approach this sacred spring. Taesan realizes this is no ordinary, low-level NPC. An adventurer, are you? The old man asks. He means those seeking to conquer this maze. Before Taesan can react, the elder lunges like lightning. A massive fist obliterates the silent air. Taesan's face pales, but his regressor instincts fire. He raises his shield against the incoming disaster. The impact pours seismic pressure into his veins. System notification. You received Taishan's might. Strength permanently increased by 1. You have successfully synchronized with an ancient, titanic power. New active skill unlocked. Overflow. Suddenly, the elder delivers a second, heaven-shattering, brutal punch. The speed is divine. The blow connects, sending Taesan spiraling into a world of pain. He slams through a massive stone wall. The gifted shield is now nothing but dented scrap. Dust settles. The old man smiles, praising the young hunter's extraordinary and unnatural resilience. Taesan stares in shock, shattering labyrinth walls with a fist. This power dwarfs the gatekeeper. As Taesan recovers with speed, the elder notes his tactical move. dropping the shield mid-impact. You timed your shield release perfectly to mitigate the shock, the old man notes with interest. I didn't intend to kill a stranger. That blow was never meant to be fatal. Even if I truly attacked, you would survive. Your drive to endure death is truly magnificent. Evading such a strike with low stats is a miracle. T-san realizes this man knows secrets. Even Leon didn't know this. The two finally exchange names in a tense, respectful greeting. Why the sudden assault? Do you enjoy bullying the weak, old man? T-san demands answers. The elder laughs. Loneliness is a curse. I simply wanted to play with a newcomer. I wanted to see if the survivors here have any worth. Are they truly worthy? Nothing is more pathetic than a man ignoring his limits. But you passed my test, T-san scoffs. His standards mean nothing to a king who will conquer this entire world. In this labyrinth, hidden gods test players. Yet, most solo hunters ignore these divine trials. Luckily, Leon's past intel revealed the dark truths. Every conversation with her was a treasure. Many gods exist here to grant rewards, yet their presence is hidden in solo mode. I learned much from Leon. The old man, Enet, smiles as he mentions his own deity. Knowing the gods is a blessing. I serve the goddess of love, the kind 𝒂𝒏𝒌. She bound hearts together with love. In my world, no one was loved more than her, but my world is destroyed. I am the last soul who remembers her divine grace. Enet invites T-san to descend deeper into the abyss together for some fun and exploration, but T-san isn't here for tours. He will strip this world of every hidden secret. Ambition flared in the young hunter's eyes. Impressed by such resolve, the ancient deity began to applaud with genuine interest. The entity offered to personally train our protagonist. It was a golden opportunity to skip the tedious grind of training. Tae-san accepted instantly. Before the lesson, the old man apologized for his earlier, reckless assault on the young warrior. Skipping the formalities, the master began his lecture. He explained that basic skills are typically born from a single action. Swing a blade for swordsmanship, raise a shield for shield mastery. These fundamental arts are the foundation for every player. Equipping a weapon grants its core skill. High proficiency allows your body to move with the lethal grace of a master. While most possess these basics, there is a legendary technique that unifies them. A secret known only to the few. It is called 𝒂𝒏𝒌 weapon arts. This ultimate skill harmonizes every basic mastery into one imperfect but devastatingly effective style. Even the goddess of 𝒂𝒏𝒃 praised this creation. Now, the master declared, I shall grant you this power right now. Tae-san was ordered to strike the master with his shield. Without hesitation, he lunged, pouring every ounce of strength forward. The shield slammed into the old man's head, but he didn't budge. Only 4 damage points flickered in the air. Next came the fist test. Tae-san drove a heavy punch into the master's stomach, aiming to leave a serious mark. Only 2 damage points appeared. It was weaker than a mosquito bite. Tae-san felt a wave of frustration wash over. The master stated the obvious. Better gear equals more damage. Tae-san's face soured, thinking he had wasted his time. But the lesson wasn't over. Typically, when combining 2 weapons like gloves and swords, the system only counts the strongest. Bonuses never stacked. This forced warriors to choose only one weapon to master, limiting their potential in the long run. However, 𝒂𝒏𝒃 weapon arts changes everything. This forbidden technique allows the user to stack damage from every piece of equipment. Imagine a sword with 20 attack and gloves with 50. With this skill, every strike hits with a combined 70 power. Every part of the body, elbows, knees, and fists, now carries the full weight of the hunter's arsenal. He is a weapon. Tae-san's lips curled into a predatory smirk. This meant that every useless item he found would now become a treasure. As he dives deeper into the labyrinth and gathers high-tier loot, this skill will transform him into an unstoppable force. It wasn't just a support skill, it was his future foundation. A king's power was finally beginning to take shape. You have the patience of a saint, the master remarked. But this art is beyond the reach of ordinary men. Placing a heavy hand on the boy's shoulder, the master prepared to transfer his life's work through a soul link. Since he created this art himself, he could bypass the system's rules and bestow it upon Tae-san with ease. With 100% mastery, the old man poured his essence into the hunter. The air crackled with raw energy. Shield mastery has merged with 𝒂𝒏𝒃 weapon arts. The notifications flooded his vision, signaling the birth of a legend. Swordsmanship has evolved. Tae-san had successfully inherited the secret art. He was now a monster, among mere men. He couldn't believe it. Just one day in the dungeon and he had already obtained a cheat-level skill. Fate was smiling. The master warned that this was only the beginning. Reaching 100% power would require daily, blood-soaked training. As a parting gift, the master tossed him a simple ring. It provided a modest +1 to his attack power, small, but essential. Tae-san immediately equipped the ring, feeling the faint pulse of magic around his finger. "I have taught you everything," the master sighed. "But it would be a shame to part ways before testing your mettle. You aren't ready for the 3rd floor yet. How about a quick spar to see if those skills actually work?" Perfect. Tae-san was itching for a real test. He gripped his shield, his eyes burning with the fires of battle. The old man moved like a blur, his fist striking with the force of a thunderclap. The duel had begun. Shockwaves shattered the silence, and dust choked the air. For 500 rounds, the two warriors traded blows and intent. Tae-san focused purely on survival, dodging and parrying with desperate precision. One mistake would mean a brutal end. The master was relentless, unleashing a storm of strikes while carefully ensuring his student wouldn't be permanently broken. After 1,000 grueling rounds, Tae-san finally collapsed. He was spent, but a new power stirred within him. Passive skill continuous combat unlocked. Proficiency 3%. This legendary ability meant he would never truly tire. With this, he could hunt S-rank monsters for days without rest. His regression knowledge was paying off in dividends. In his previous life, this skill was a dream. Now, it was his reality. The master looked on, impressed. "You have the heart of a true warrior," the old man whispered. The path to the Apocalypse King was open. Seeing the boy fight so skillfully, the master smiled proudly. The elder was left speechless, praising the young man's god-tier senses and skills that defied his rank as a first-floor adventurer. Just as he suspected, his eyes hadn't deceived him. As they sat and shared their stories, the old man revealed that the boy had now mastered the legendary Iraqi weaponry. "You may pass this art to others, but never to the wicked," the old man warned. "If you break this vow, I will hunt you down and take your life myself." The second condition was simple. If he ever discovered clues regarding the goddess love, he must share them. Tae-san pondered this deeply, using his knowledge of the future. To find the goddess, either her protector must survive, or she would perish alongside him. Unless a massive anomaly occurred, she was destined to be hunted down soon. Tae-san debated whether revealing the truth now would rewrite the fate of this world. Taking a deep breath, he looked the old man in the eyes with a question. "Do you truly wish to know her location?" The old man's face lit up instantly. "Of course! Don't keep me in suspense, brat!" He was practically vibrating with excitement. Tae-san didn't hesitate. "I know exactly where she is hiding." The elder's eyes widened in sheer disbelief, thinking the rookie was just spinning tall tales to impress him. To anyone else, a first-floor crawler claiming to know such divine secrets was pure madness. It was impossible, a joke or so the old man initially believed. Ignoring the skepticism, Tae-san drew from the memories gifted by Yon. He whispered the forbidden coordinates. Floor 78, the Universal Library, Secret Room 24. The old man froze in shock. For 1,000 years, he had overlooked that specific chamber. It was a staggering oversight that hit him like a physical blow. Overcome with joy, he embraced Tae-san like a long-lost son, thanking him profusely. Though the location was set, the path through that deep dungeon remained a nightmare. Desperate to repay the favor, the elder searched his belongings. He pulled out a relic of immense power, the Blood Twilight Ring, granting a +20 stat boost. This was a sacred artifact belonging to an ancient sect, and currently the only one of its kind in easy mode. Usually, one must clear 30 floors to see such loot. With the gift exchanged, the old man bid farewell to his protégé, rushing off to find his eternal love. Tae-san, however, had his own legendary path to walk. Determined not to leave a single scrap of loot behind, he scoured the first floor again. He began hunting mobs to sharpen his fangs and increase his level. The giant rats that once seemed threatening were now nothing more than pebbles under his boots. However, this overwhelming power brought a frustrating downside for the hunter. Because his level was now too high, these low-tier monsters dropped absolutely nothing. A slight disappointment, but he knew where the real treasures were hidden away. Realizing there was nothing left to gain from basic grinding, Tae-san headed for the second floor. But first, he had to find the legendary hidden room. Every floor hid at least one secret chamber filled with massive rewards, magical staves, mystical rings, and elixirs that permanently boosted a player's core statistics. These rooms were the keys to conquering the labyrinth. While skill was vital, finding them required a mix of extreme luck and the experience of a regressor. Though dungeon layouts shifted with difficulty, the core architecture remained the same. Tae-san looked for a wall that appeared completely useless and empty to others. That was the hallmark of a secret passage. If the bricks looked ordinary, the only way to find the door was through manual labor tapping every single stone. He began the tedious process, prying and knocking on every inch of the wall. From the cold floor to the damp ceiling, he searched for the hidden mechanism. Finally, a click echoed through the hall. The secret room materialized before his eyes, housing a mysterious treasure chest that glimmered in the darkness of the dungeon. Wary of lethal traps, Tae-san grabbed a giant rat and tossed it inside as a meat shield. As expected, the room's defense systems roared to life instantly. The rodent was incinerated by flames and riddled with poison needles in seconds. Tae-san smirked. His skills were already far beyond any normal player in Stage 1. Confident in his refined reflexes, he leaped into the fray to test his current limits. He intentionally stepped on the trigger tiles, inviting the chaos to begin. Poison arrows hissed through the air in a relentless barrage. They were slow compared to his perception, and the protagonist snatched them out of the air effortlessly. Just steps away from the treasure, Tae-san continued to trigger the traps, using the danger to sharpen his reaction speed. The density of the arrows increased. Despite the sheer volume of projectiles, not a single one could graze his skin. But then, the speed doubled, and the sheer number of bolts became a blur. The onslaught finally overwhelmed him, and a warning flashed as his health began to plummet. In this game, failing to treat a wound meant certain death. Even with the treasure within reach, he forced himself to stop and bandage his injuries. He spotted a lever in the corner, the safety mechanism for the room. With a flick of the switch, the traps went silent. Tae-san approached the chest and pried it open, revealing a high-grade staff that pulsed with internal heat. The system identified it as the Flame Staff, a tool for apprentice mages. It granted the user the Fireball spell, a prize far more valuable than basic gear. Moving with predatory grace, the protagonist closed the distance. The legendary treasure chest sat just a few steps away. He danced through the lethal mechanisms, testing his godlike reflexes. Arrows whistled past, missing him by mere hairbreadths. The onslaught intensified. Poison-tipped bolts rained down like a lethal storm, testing the limits of his superhuman speed. A single strike drew blood. System warnings flashed crimson as his health plummeted. Death was clawing at his throat. He needed to stop the bleeding immediately. One more mistake meant certain death, despite the treasure being inches away. Gritting his teeth, Tae-san bandaged his wounds. Suddenly, his sharp eyes caught a hidden lever tucked in the corner. He pulled it, and the mechanical traps went silent. Finally, he reached out to claim whatever lay within. Inside sat a high-tier staff, though it lacked any visible aura. Tae-san wondered if this was actually worth it. The system identified it. The Flame Wand. A tool for apprentice mages capable of conjuring basic elemental fireballs. Its value far outstripped standard gear. For Tae-san, this was a perfect stepping stone toward absolute magical dominance. Solo mode was a complete enigma with no guides to follow. The path is clear now. Tae-san secures his loot and faces the vermin. Blood-crazed rats swarm him, but the power gap is already monumental. A single kick crushes them. He heads to the Spring of Life to heal. Preparing for the second floor, he inventories his hard-earned spoils. The divine staff glows. The maze structure seems deceptively basic. Each floor has a guardian boss blocking the path forward. Simple layout, right? Wrong. Solo mode never plays fair like that. Beyond the dark threshold lies the floor 1 boss, looking monstrous. This beast was a floor 10 nightmare in the easy difficulty setting. For Tae-san, however, this legendary killer is merely small fry. Zeon used fire, exploiting the Rat King's refusal to leave its lair. It is a clever tactic, but Tae-san seeks a more absolute victory. He unleashes a scorching inferno, turning the room into a furnace. To reach the pinnacle, he must face every challenge head-on. After the flames, he tests his poison arrows against the beast, paralyzed for 10 seconds. The boss is now just a training dummy. At 20% health, the monster enters a frenzied berserk state. Finally, Tae-san can stop holding back and unleash his true strength. One heavy blow forces him to cough blood. His strength is only 11. Time to switch tactics. He relies on his highest stat, pure agility. He dances through the shadows, weaving between the boss's lethal claws. His blade sings, delivering 1,000 cuts in a blur of motion. His low base stats make every exchange a dangerous gamble of life. Trading blows is suicide. He focuses everything on perfect evasion maneuvers. Through tireless effort and calculated movement, the giant vermin falls. Level up, his health and mana surge back to full capacity instantly. The system heralds his victory over the first floor guardian. Rewards include random elixirs and a secret prize for hidden achievements. Perched on the corpse, he drinks the elixirs, feeling power swell. Level 4 achieved. His stats are rising at an unprecedented rate. A satisfied smirk plays on his lips. This is a perfect start. He rests briefly, wondering how the other survivors are faring now. Using his future knowledge, he posts a guide to save others. Gratitude floods in as hundreds survive their first nightmarish encounters. In his past life, these forums were filled only with dying screams. Eventually, silence reigned as the death toll claimed everyone but him. Ready for floor 2, he checks his pockets and visits the shop. He ignores the shiny blades and picks up a worn, tattered glove. The merchant stares in confusion. Why buy junk instead of steel? Taesan says nothing and continues. He knows what is truly valuable. He remembers the legendary blacksmith Hafan, a master of divine steel. Compared to Hafan's work, shop weapons are just piles of scrap metal. He enters a zone where monsters shrug off fatal wounds like nothing. At last, the system chimes. The second floor trial has officially begun. Floor 2 boss annihilated, claiming the novice mana elixir and a secret reward. Rewards this elite already? Thirsting for more, Taesan checks the global community chat. The server is exploding. Everyone is desperate to see the legendary solo hunter's face. Becoming an overnight idol is stressful. Taesan sighs and picks one lucky caller. This system is god tier. Even miles apart, Hone appears right before his eyes. On rushes over, trembling. He didn't call for tips, he thought Taesan was dead. The entire server was panicking. They were certain the top player had finally fallen. Hunger is the real enemy here. Without maize loot, the players are starving. Total silence from the labyrinth. Desperation is turning survivors into literal monsters. The isolation is soul-crushing. On admits he was on the brink of insanity. Everyone was ready to give up. But then, Taesan's guide changed everything. One post saved thousands. Taesan was the pioneer. The rest are just following. Taesan listens, reflecting. In his past life, this man was a forgotten hero. On likely died fighting giant rats back then. A brave soul lost to history. He's no ordinary player. Surviving this long proves he has real hunter potential. Listen closely. You'll meet a strange old NPC soon. Don't provoke him. Be respectful, and he'll grant you power. His favor depends on your attitude. Advice given, Taesan cuts the feed. It's time to continue his solo conquest. Floor 1 was just a playground. Floor 2? This is where the nightmare starts. He senses them instantly. Dark rooms, hidden teeth. No more hiding like before. With SSS-rank confidence, he kicks the door open and charges the swarm. The monsters are terrified. Is this a human or a demon invading their den? Free experience points. Taesan draws his bow. Eyes locking onto his prey. The beasts charge blindly into their doom. One arrow, one soul sent to hell. They keep coming, desperate for blood. Taesan just smirks and switches to melee. Bow away, shield out. He enters the fray like a whirlwind of destruction. Using legendary techniques from his past, he crushes their skulls with ease. Screams of agony echo. Nearby golems rumble to life, sensing the slaughter. Mindless rocks charging a god. Taesan spots a faint glow in the wreckage. A high-tier blade, his eyes light up. Finally, a toy worth playing with. No more playing around. He pulls out a magic staff, mana surging wildly. Hellfire. A massive explosion incinerates the room, leaving only ash and smoke. Loot secured. A rusty sword. Low attack, but it has a secret potential. Even basic gear feels like a treasure when you know the future's secrets. Deep in the shadows, he finds it. A room radiating a terrifying, divine chill. The Altar of 𝑹𝒂𝒏𝒌. First discovery bonus. Permanent intelligence and mana up. The gods of the maze are fickle. Some bless you. Others want your head. To them, humans are just entertainment. Pawns in a cosmic bloody game. 𝑹𝒂𝒏𝒌, the god of conflict and death. A name that makes heavens tremble. A dark presence fills the air. The system flickers. A hidden trial has appeared. Accept the challenge of the death god? High risk, but legendary rewards await. Taesan doesn't hesitate. Evaluate me then, you divine bastard. Let's see it. A 2-0. Year. Old's fearlessness is a weapon. He steps into the ritual circle. Space tears open. A knight in full plate armor emerges from the void. The pressure is suffocating. The guardian strikes first, and the real trial begins. Seeing the hunter stand still, the boss lunged with predatory speed, its blade seeking a merciless slaughter. A devastating armor-piercing strike. Even behind his shield, Taesan lost 25 health. Defense was officially useless. He discarded the shield, summoning a second longsword from the system. It was time for a dual-wielding gamble. Like a berserker, Tae-san unleashed 77 distinct strikes. He poured every ounce of aggression into this assault, but the power gap was immense. The boss stood like an immovable mountain, blocking every blow without flinching. Facing such overwhelming defense, Tae-san's face turned pale. This monster was far tougher than he had anticipated. Realizing a direct clash was suicide, he retreated to strategize. He feigned a desperate escape to lure it in. As the boss closed the distance, Tae-san pivoted with explosive speed. A lightning-fast counter-thrust aimed at the vitals. The monster couldn't react in time. The blade sank into its side, but disaster struck. The sword became wedged deep. He recalled his master's teachings. Iraq's martial arts rely on stacking damage. He had to stay close and aggressive. Don't let him use his full power. This high-risk technique was his only hope in this apocalyptic duel. Having survived countless death matches, he knew this would work. After one brutal strike, he leaped back to reassess. Enraged by the petty wound, the boss grew desperate. It pulled the sword from its flesh as if nothing happened. With a casual swing, it sent a shockwave toward Tae-san. Only his superhuman reflexes kept his head attached. Before he could recover, the monster pinned him against the wall. The sheer difference in strength was suffocating. He braced every muscle, but the impact was devastating. Damage numbers flashed as his life force began to drain. Slammed against the stone, Tae-san's vision blurred. Exhaustion took hold, but falling now meant certain death. "Move, damn it," he growled. Using his remaining willpower, he forced his trembling body back to its feet. His hands shook so violently he could barely grip his sword. Still, the boss approached with cold, murderous intent. Cornered and broken, Tae-san didn't flinch. Having survived the world's end once, he looked death in the eye. His gaze was pure defiance, taunting the monster to finish it. "Come on, you bastard, show me your best." To illuminate his final stand, he pulled a magic staff from his inventory. A spark ignited the dark room. A fireball surged forward, catching the boss off guard. But with one swift cut, the monster cleaved the flames. The boss froze. Tae-san had vanished. Using the flash as a distraction, he had slipped into the shadows. He reappeared behind the beast, swinging with everything. Yet, the monster's legendary armor remained completely unscathed. The boss counterattacked instantly, but Tae-san had activated his deflection skill, choosing to face the blade head-on. With suicidal confidence, he engaged the beast. They clashed for 500 rounds in a symphony of clashing steel. Pushing his basic techniques to their absolute limits, Tae-san struggled. Every parry felt like a mountain falling. He cycled through physical strikes and magic bursts. It was a desperate dance to find any weakness in the armor. Despite the relentless pressure, the boss wouldn't fall. Tae-san was reaching his limit. Mana and health were critical. Mana, 5, health, 70. He was one strike away from the grave. It was time for a final gamble. "All or nothing," he roared, charging the monster one last time. He threw his entire existence into this strike. Fate seemed sealed. Before his swords could connect, the boss's blade pierced Tae-san's chest in a killing blow. But the endurance skill activated. For 1 second, all damage was nullified. He had exploited death itself. Ignoring the blade in his chest, Tae-san drove both swords into the monster's neck with terrifying force. He wouldn't let go. As the boss's life faded, Tae-san put every ounce of strength into the execution. With a final, guttural scream, he decapitated the beast. He collapsed to the ground, checking his own mortal wounds. The severed head spoke, praising his valor. A final tribute to the hunter who dared to kill a god. "System, you have defeated the servant of 𝑹𝒂𝒏𝒌." Only then did Tae-san finally allow himself to breathe. He lay exhausted on the blood-soaked floor. Suddenly, a flood of system notifications illuminated the dark chamber. Mass experience gained. Level up. Evolution to the optimal form initiated. A solo victory over a legendary foe. Mental fortification activated. Tae-san checked his new stats, feeling the surge of power coursing through his veins. Level 6 reached. His attributes had soared. This wasn't just progress, it was the birth of the Apocalypse King. "Show me the rewards," he whispered. The system granted him a weapon forged in the fires of legend. Reward, Blade of 𝑹𝒂𝒏𝒌. The system updated, revealing the terrifying power of his new, blood-stained sword. Tae-san gripped the relic, a blood-stained blade once wielded by 𝑹𝒂𝒏𝒌 cultists. It was soaked in sacrificial blood. A god-tier reward for Floor 2's boss. If Floor 2 is this insane, imagine the treasures in the higher levels. He also unlocked a passive, Proof of Effort, Level 1 Mastery attained, a combat boost against unknown foes. Suddenly, the earth began to scream. Violent tremors shook the ground. "What now? I just finished the boss." A crimson alert flashed. 𝒂𝒏𝒌 offers you an apostle contract. Accept or refuse? 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 dropped to the floor, his mind racing wildly. Gods face heavy penalties to interfere. Why go so far for me? An apostle's power is tempting, but gods are fickle, cruel masters. This god has been chaotic and tyrannical. Is this truly a gift? Even with good intent, could he be trusted? Or was it a trap? He refused to be a puppet. Finally, 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 chose to decline the offer. Suddenly, a new window appeared, a sub-quest from the god himself. 𝒂𝒏𝒌 was impressed. The trial, slaughter floors 2 and 3 now. The reward? The god will decide based on your combat performance. The better the show, the better the loot. Greed flared in him. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 accepted the challenge immediately, ignoring the extreme danger ahead. After a brutal grind, he visited the blacksmith to restock his gear. The owner offered a discount. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 bought every elixir in the shop. Preparation is survival. The blacksmith noticed the blood-red sword on him. You took that from that freak 𝒂𝒏𝒌? He's clearly obsessed with you. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 was shocked. This old man knew the god's secrets too. Many legends died from his madness. He's a parasite seeking a host. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 asked for advice, but the man refused to break the rules. I'm just a shopkeeper. I can't interfere with your twisted fate. I'm bound by a contract too. Trapped here for all of eternity. Frustrated by the lack of info, 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 geared up and left quickly. Time to check the competition. How are the other players doing? He opened the system. Immediately, Xian and her friend messaged him. Even in virtual space, their fear was real. They looked completely defeated. We tried your advice, but that old man just spat on us. I couldn't move! His aura crushed my spirit. It ended badly. Xian sighed. Same here. I couldn't even draw my weapon out. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 frowned. Even with future knowledge, they lacked the raw talent. Only those who react to death deserve the god's respect here. 𝒂𝒏𝒌 and these NPCs, they all share the same brutal philosophy. The rookies were back to hunting rats. A slow, pathetic grind. Watch out, 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 warned. The floor 2 boss is the Rat King. Over 2,000 physical power. Even a block will shatter you. They begged for a shortcut. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 just smiled. Just try your best. No handouts here. The 2 rookies headed back into the dark. 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 gripped his new blade. Let's see what this server can handle. He roared, baiting every monster in the forest to his location. Goblins swarmed from the shadows. The slaughter was about to begin. Swords, bows, or spears, these monsters have the gear but 0 brains. To me, they're just walking EXP. These weaklings don't stand a chance. I activate my new sword skill to see if it's truly legendary. Incredible. With one basic strike, I send an entire wave of monsters to the afterlife. My reaction speed? Absolutely god tier. I parry their strikes without even looking. With this overwhelming power, 𝒖𝒂𝒏𝒌 wipe the floor with them without breaking a sweat. After clearing the trash, I scout for high-tier loot. Suddenly, a mysterious, hidden door catches my eye. Even with my future knowledge, I've never heard of this. Driven by curiosity, I step inside. But all I find is a massive, ancient stone tablet in the center. System alert. Warrior's Tomb. Rewards. Permanent +1 wisdom, and +2 mana. This is a massive jackpot. I approach the slab to check for secrets, but the moment my hand touches the cold stone, a cute little spirit pops out with a cheerful greeting. Then, she vanishes instantly. Is she trolling me? I touch the tomb again. She reappears, waves, and poof, gone again. My patience is wearing thin. Is this ghost playing games with me? 3rd time's the charm. If she disappears again, I'm breaking things. The moment its head pops out, I snatch it mid-air. You want to die a second death, kid? It zooms away, trembling. I am a ghost, bound here to bestow a legendary quest upon the worthy, but I can't give it to a weakling, it says. I scoff. You're the one who died on floor 2, the ghost pouts. You know nothing. It's this cursed labyrinth. I was meant for the deepest, darkest floors. I don't even know why I'm trapped here. Anyway, come back after clearing floor 30 if you want it. He died on floor 2 and expects me to hit floor 30? I turn to leave without a word. What a delusional NPC, I mutter. But as I walk away, the ghost's eyes widen at my blade. Wait, that sword, isn't that 𝒂𝒏𝒌's legendary weapon? How could a mere human like you possess it? I give him a cold glare. I cleared the trial, obviously. You think I found it in a shop? Realizing I'm an SSS-rank talent, the spirit instantly changes its tune. Forget floor 30. You're the one. It circles me, showering me with flattery. A hero like you deserves this quest right now. Listen closely. I was once a legendary warrior who conquered the abyss faster than anyone. I was a god of war, but after a brutal battle, I retreated to floor 10 to rest. My defenses were supposed to be impenetrable. I fell into a deep sleep, but the floor 10 boss used a cowardly fixed-damage weapon to assassinate me. Me, the future king of the labyrinth, killed by a low-level trash boss. I need my revenge. Slay that bastard on floor 10, and I'll give you a reward beyond your wildest dreams. System alert. Subquest. The Resting Warrior's Vengeance. Goal. Slay the floor 10 boss. Reward. Dependent on the warrior's mood. Dependent on mood? I break into a cold sweat. If he's grumpy, I get nothing? That's a total scam, but I was planning to wipe out every boss in this dungeon anyway. Fine. I'll take the quest. Overjoyed, the little spirit flies over and perches on my head. It seems I've gained a permanent companion. It's been lonely here for ages, it says. Great. Now I have a talkative ghost following my every move. How am I supposed to stay focused with this guy hovering over me? This is going to be exhausting, but I can't waste an information source. I start interrogating the chatterbox to see what secrets he knows. Since he hasn't talked in centuries, the words pour out like a waterfall. I was royalty, a crown prince. My sword skills and wisdom were unmatched. Every noble lady in the kingdom begged for a dance. Those were the glory days. Until I died in my sleep. What a pathetic end for a legend, right? I failed. I couldn't save the world, and that failure destroyed everything. I need that boss dead. I let the ghost ramble while I focus on the path. Every room on floor 2 must be cleared. I slowly open the door to a dark, ominous chamber. Whatever lurks inside, it's about to meet its maker. Memories surfaced, vibrant balls and noble ladies vying for his attention. He was once a star of the high court, but he died in his sleep, a pathetic end. He had failed to save the world, losing everything to darkness. I will tear his soul apart, he vowed. Ignoring the lingering ghost's ramblings, Taisen focused on his new path. Level 2 of the dungeon awaited. He pushed open a heavy door, revealing a chamber swallowed by absolute darkness. Goblins lurk in the shadows. Without hesitation, the regressor draws his deadly bow. Arrows fly, paralyzing the horde. A single sword strike could end this, but there's a catch. To avoid that ghost's annoying lectures, he sticks to his bow. Precision over brute force. The ghost scoffs at his wasted time. Little does he know, Tae-san is farming skills. A bet is made, Tae-san's future knowledge versus the ghost's ego. The prize? Absolute obedience. The ghost laughs, confident in his 85th floor experience. A new skill? Impossible, he claims. What should I make him do? The ghost chuckles, already celebrating a hollow victory. Amidst the chaos, the system chimes. Engaging multiple targets, hidden conditions have been met. Skill unlocked. Forced duel. A legendary ability that crushes all debuffs, poison, and paralysis. Every negative status is neutralized. Tae-san has just rewritten the rules of the labyrinth. The ghost's jaw drops. His pride shatters instantly. For the first time, he is speechless. Don't get cocky, the spirit blusters. Even with skills, this maze is a living nightmare. But a bet is a bet. The ghost yields, realizing this newbie is a legendary monster. Do you even know the jump skill? The ghost asks. Tae-san smirks at the simplicity. I mastered super jump long ago, he replies. The ghost's worldview crumbles once again. Survival isn't just about stats, it's about secrets. Tae-san begins scouring walls for hidden triggers. His fingers trace the stone. There, a hidden mechanism, invisible to any ordinary hunter's eyes. The switch clicks, revealing a secret chamber. A gauntlet of lethal, ancient traps awaits him. High risk, legendary reward. To a regressor, these death traps are just a loot playground. With predatory grace, he clears the pit. The ghost watches in horror. This man is broken. 2 days? He's only been here 2 days. The ghost screams. This is pure hacking. Every trap is disarmed with surgical precision. The ghost finally shuts his mouth in awe. The treasure chest creaks open. Inside lies the mana spring ring, a relic of infinite energy. Mana flows through him like sweet nectar. Another piece of the god-tier puzzle is found. He checks the community chat. Despair is spreading. Modern civilians aren't built for this hell. Office workers forced to be warriors. Most are drowning in fear and utter helplessness. Only a few youths still struggle. To save them, Tae-san shares his forbidden knowledge. He enters the community channel. The mood shifts instantly. The legendary Solo King has arrived. Tae-san? Why is he here? They wonder. A spark of hope ignites in darkness. He stands before the masses, a king preparing his subjects for the looming apocalypse. "I'm here to teach you survival," he declares. "Skills are weapons, not mere trophies. Timing is everything. Knowledge given to the weak is wasted. They must be desperate first. Lesson 1. Pain resistance. Stab your own hand," he commands. Feel the blade hit bone. The crowd gasps in horror. But Tae-san knows pain is the only true teacher here. Conquer the fear, slay the rats, and unlock iron will. A skill to defy death. The next lesson is brutal, breath-holding, pushing the physical body to the brink. Dive into the life spring until your lungs scream. Only then will suffocation skill awaken. Swing your sword until muscles tear. True mastery is born from agony, not comfort. Finally, endurance. Survival against lethal blows. It requires a singular, ironclad point of focus. The survivors stare in shock. This isn't training, it's a systematic descent into madness. "I won't force you," Tae-san says coldly. "But here, weakness is a death sentence. I won't force you into this hell," Tae-san declared. The choice to survive or perish belonged to them alone. Their fear made sense. They were products of a modern world, never forced to face the bloody reality of survival. To them, war was a history book, and famine was a distant tragedy. They weren't ready for this brutal era. They had never truly fought for their lives. Even within the dungeon, their soft, cowardly nature remained unchanged. Seeing his melancholy, only Zeon and Huck approached him. They agreed to follow the regressors' every command. Tae-san guided them despite the mocking crowd. Fools will always fear what they cannot understand. He shared a secret strategy regarding the system window. The timing for oxygen is crucial for survival. Fed up with the idiots, our hero left the chat. Talking to stubborn losers is just a waste of time. He returned to his cold dungeon lair. Alongside his ghostly companion, the real hunt finally resumed. They soon reached the boss's heavy iron doors. Without a hint of fear, Tae-san stepped into the abyss. The system shrieked a warning. A goblin chieftain with a massive hammer appeared from the shadows. The beast summoned its horde to swarm the intruder. But to an SSS ranker, these were just mere insects. With one strike, the minions were sent to hell. The ghost warned that pure strength wouldn't be enough here. "Focus on the leader first," the ghost cried out. But Tae-san had already seen through their pathetic tricks. Ignoring the ghost's babble, he charged forward like a storm. Suddenly, the world around him began to warp. A dark dimension swallowed his consciousness whole. Under his feet lay a mountain of rotting monster corpses. The dead rose to drag him into the depths. Shadows clutched at his soul in this nightmare realm. He saw Zeon's ghost weeping in the darkness. She cursed him for leaving them all behind to die. But Tae-san knew this was just a pathetic illusion. He vowed to rip that goblin's throat out once he escaped. Outside, the ghost laughed at Tae-san's frozen state. Stubbornness usually leads to an early grave, after all. Seeing his prey motionless, the boss lunged for the kill. The hammer swung down with bone-crushing force. At the final second, Tae-san's eyes blazed with fury. One clean strike ended the goblin's miserable life. As the boss gasped its final breath, he loomed over it. He lifted the creature like it weighed nothing at all. The system chimed repeatedly with divine rewards. He had endured mental torture and gained legendary passive skills. Mental and magic resistance were now permanently etched into his soul. Tae-san finished the beast with cold indifference. The ghost stood frozen in absolute disbelief. How could a mere mortal resist such high-level mental manipulation? Ordinary resistance skills shouldn't be this powerful. The ghost realized this man was a true anomaly. His plan to manipulate the regressor had utterly failed. This human was far more insane than any demon. "Who are you really?" The ghost wondered in terror. With floor 2 cleared, the real grind began. He looted a lockpicking set and various stat elixirs. Anything that increased his power was worth its weight in gold. He downed the potions like water, savoring every drop. Every stat point brings him closer to the throne. Before descending further, he visited the mystical shop. The ghost immediately began bickering with the old merchant. "You're still alive, you ancient fossil?" The ghost mocked. The atmosphere grew heavy with killing intent. Tae-san ignored the drama and dumped his loot. He had mountains of monster gear to trade for power. He needed gold for the items that actually mattered. The merchant watched him with a calculating gaze. Despite the junk, the shopkeeper respected Tae-san's drive. He offered a fair price for the useless scrap metal. Tae-san purchased high-tier gear for the early stages. For a low-level floor, he was now geared like a king. As they moved on, he questioned the ghost's hatred. The spirit's voice turned dark and full of warning. "Never trust that man," the ghost hissed. He only serves his own greed and nothing else. He was a slave who betrayed his own kind. A traitor to everything we stand for, remember that. Their conversation was interrupted by more annoying pests. Weak monsters blocked the path of the regressor. Taesan crushed them against the walls with effortless kicks. The ghost recoiled at his brutal efficiency. Is such violence really necessary? The ghost asked. He wondered why Taesan was lingering on this floor. I have a hidden quest from 𝒂𝒏𝒌, Taesan replied calmly. Total annihilation of every monster is required. Patience is key when hunting for perfection. More trash mobs fell before his unstoppable blade. During a brief rest, the ghost spoke of divinity. The gods of this world rule over every concept imaginable. There are gods for victory and gods for failure. Some even reign over multiple domains of existence. Take 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏, the sovereign of conflict and death. These entities are born from the very essence of belief. Ideological gods are shaped by the faith of mortals. In this tower, the number of gods is truly infinite, the architects of this abyss. Do you remember the system window from the entrance? Long ago, this hell was born from an archmage's twisted ambition, a labyrinth crafted by a legend. Rumors claim that any mortal who conquers these depths will be granted a single wish by the heavens, but no sorcerer could build such a nightmare alone. He sought the transcendent entities, presenting a plan to create a stage for eternal struggle. A great labyrinth, a tower plunging into the dark heart of the earth. He offered the gods a front-row seat to the ultimate tragedy. He tempted them with a spectacle. Would they like to see heroic knights and legendary adventurers bleed and struggle for their divine amusement? Life and death gambles and meaningless ends. The gods fell in love with the cruel concept, pouring their infinite power into the sorcerer's hands. For eons, they calculated and plotted every floor. Together, they forged a playground of despair where hope goes to die. The gods' labyrinth was finally complete. Deep in the lightless void, the foundation of this world-ending game was set in stone. Those who enter are mere playthings. Their worth is weighed through brutal trials, as the gods watch to see who shines the brightest. The chosen ones are offered a divine contract. To become an apostle is to gain a god's favor, a blessing that tastes like poison. Apostles wield overwhelming skills, their strength scaling with their patron's whim. They receive rewards that no ordinary hunter could ever dream of. But there is a catch. Your soul belongs to that god. You become a pawn, marked as an enemy by every other deity in existence. Countless gods lurk here, each driven by dark desires. To serve one is to invite the wrath of 1,000 jealous rivals. Take 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏, a god drowning in enemies. Other deities loathe him, fearing the threat he represents to their own twisted designs. Descending further means courting divine chaos. But there is one more rule, a bargain that no mortal can ever hope to break. In exchange for power, you must obey. Whatever the command, an apostle is nothing more than a slave to a celestial master. Taesan's mind raced. A contract? Forget it. He didn't survive the apocalypse to become another god's puppet in this second life. The legend says the conqueror gets one wish. Does that mean clearing every floor? Completing every impossible mission in this divine hell? But Lydian, her wish never seemed to come true. Was that Ouroboros ring her actual desire? Something about her past felt wrong. The Lydian I knew wouldn't have wished to start over from day one. Too many mysteries were swirling in this regressor's head. Piecing together the ghost's story, the truth was clear. Adventurers risked everything for a miracle. But what about the people from Earth? The fog of uncertainty remained thick. Shaking off the headache, Taesan stood up. His journey into the abyss had just begun. The ghost urged him to slaughter the monsters and descend quickly. But Taesan had his own peculiar way of grinding for power. Armed with a master locksmith's tools, he stopped rushing. Instead of smashing through traps, he began to study them with cold curiosity. Sometimes it took one try. Often, he failed hundreds of times. The ghost was turning purple with sheer, helpless rage at his pace. The spirit screamed, "Why waste time on useless skills when your perception can already reveal every secret in this room? What are you even trying to achieve? Your mastery isn't moving. You're throwing away precious time on things that don't matter. You could walk through this room with your eyes closed. You did it before, so why play with literal trash now?" Ignoring the phantom's nagging, Taesan stayed focused. Every click of the lock was a step toward absolute perfection in this life. Finally, the system chimed. Lockpicking mastery increased by 7%. A small, satisfied grin touched the regressor's lips. After looting the third floor dry, he reached the boss chamber. The air grew heavy. It was finally time for the slaughter. The system alert flared blood red. The goblin chieftain had appeared. But to an SSS hunter, this was just child's play. No fear, only cold calculation. He dived into the horde like a reaper, his movements a dance of absolute, fluid destruction. With his top-tier gear, the mobs were mere fodder, a few basic strikes and the floor was painted in goblin blood. Only the chieftain remained 3 times larger than a man. 𝒂𝒏 didn't hesitate. He charged like a starving, apex predator. His first strike barely scratched the beast. The boss swung its massive mace, aiming to turn his skull into fine white dust. To any other hunter, it was a death blow. But to 𝒂𝒏, the world slowed down into a frame-by-frame action movie. The mace was a hair's breadth from his face. In that split second, he vanished, leaping high into the air with ease. The chieftain's eyes widened in pure shock. It didn't even realize who it was fighting. 𝒂𝒏 was a ghost in the light. 1,000 slashes rained down in an instant. The ghost, watching from the sidelines, stood frozen, jaw dropping in sheer disbelief. Was this a player or a monster? The brutality was staggering. To 𝒂𝒏, however, this entire fight was almost boring. The boss collapsed. The system flashed. Floor, 3 boss defeated. Reward, 1 physical enhancement potion grade 1. He downed it like water. No hesitation. Stats were everything in this apocalypse, and he intended to hoard them all. Gripping his staff, a sharp thought crossed his mind. Magic. Why must I rely on a tool? There has to be a better way. He realized magic was locked behind specialized staves. How could he bypass these limits and seize true arcane power? Mastering high-tier magic is currently a pipe dream. My best bet lies with finding the hidden non-player characters. These legends only manifest within the brutal solo mode. They remain hidden where even Lydian's eyes cannot reach. This mystery explains why magic is a lost art. Without a mentor, my path to sorcery remains sealed. I'll prioritize clearing the Raka's quest for now. 𝒂𝒏 resolves to finish his current objectives before moving deeper. He scans the system interface before the next descent. A nagging feeling suggests a hidden secret was overlooked. Searching 3 floors again would waste precious time. He notices strange, ancient patterns etched into the stone. The markings all point toward one suspicious corner. 𝒂𝒏 activates his unlock skill to hunt for hidden loot. The stone wall crumbles under the skill's pressure. A secret sanctuary reveals itself from within the shadows. The ghost is stunned by his impossible perception. 𝒂𝒏 simply smiles, having recognized the familiar trap architecture. It was a calculated gamble that hit the jackpot. Even he didn't know what legendary entity was concealed. The system sounds a red alert immediately. You've encountered the former lord, 𝒂𝒏𝒌. A monstrous king was hidden in this abyss. His presence was so faint it escaped all previous detection. The lord draws his blade with lethal intent. He views 𝒂𝒏 as a mere puppet of the system. As an incarnation of the maze, he brings death. His only role is to execute every foolish intruder. A single swing tears through the empty space. Sword intent erupts with a terrifying and invisible force. Even from a distance, the shockwave is devastating. 𝒂𝒏 is slammed to the ground by the impact. This power level is completely off the charts. Leon's sister never mentioned a monster of this caliber. The boss prepares a second, finishing strike now. 𝒂𝒏 knows a direct hit will end his regression. He lunges forward to close the killing distance. A desperate maneuver to stifle the long blade's reach. The sheer gap in raw power is overwhelming. 𝒂𝒏 is blasted back, his stats barely holding on. Clearing floor 50 on easy was child's play. But solo mode is a nightmare beyond all imagination. He targets the boss's weakness at close range. But a swift hilt strike catches him by surprise. The evasion skill triggers just in time today. A hair's breadth separates him from a cold grave. Survival does not mean he escaped the pain. 𝒂𝒏 coughs blood as his internal organs take damage. Trading blows with a lord is pure suicide. He activates counter to reflect the incoming destruction back. The skill barely scratches the behemoth's iron defense. The boss swings again, sending 𝒂𝒏 into the dirt. No respite is granted to the struggling hunter. Lightning erupts from the blade, draining 𝒂𝒏's remaining health. Facing a god while still at level 3. He retreats, using every ounce of his burning spirit. The warrior ghost screams out in absolute panic. That monster is not an opponent you can defeat. You must flee this floor to survive, boy. Escape now, and return when you have grown stronger. He is a lord, a king of the apocalypse. A floor 3 player stands no chance against him. This beast will never show mercy to intruders. He will hunt you until your soul is extinguished. 𝒂𝒏 refuses to choose the path of safety. If I run now, I will never reach the top. Rewards are halved for those who play it safe. To become the king, I must seize everything. Backtracking through the maze carries a heavy price. The system punishes those who fear the lower depths. Experience and gold will vanish into the void. Special rewards will be lost to me forever. I will claim every prize this floor offers. Taesan stands tall, ignoring his shattered and broken bones. He chooses to engage in a suicidal duel. The ghost's desperate pleas fall on deaf ears. Is he a fool or a legendary genius? Most would farm until they are overpowered first. This isn't survival. It's a high-stakes gamble. Every move is a calculated step toward ultimate power. I have analyzed every probability for this moment. My path to the throne is built on risk. The system reacts to his unbreakable fighting will. Notifications flood his vision as his aura explodes tonight. Facing an impossible foe, your resolve remains firm. Your battle spirit ignites, surging through your entire body. Stats increase as your soul reaches new heights. You have awakened the eyes that see all weaknesses. His gaze pierces through the boss's legendary aura. The real hunt begins as he finds the flaw. The target remained frozen on his throne. This was the perfect chance to strike. Our hero stealthily moved to the rear. Taesan destroyed the pillars to bury the monster. Then, he unleashed a volley of venom-laced arrows to escalate the chaos. The boss merely smirked at his petty tricks. With a flick of his blade, the debris and poison turned to dust. But Taesan's blade was faster. He pierced the beast's chest before it could even finish its arrogant gloating. "Against me, your skills mean nothing," he whispered. "Nothing in this world can stand in my way here. Not even the falling ceiling could stop his path. Only the divine weapon you're hiding could be an exception to my rule." He shoved the throne aside with a cold touch. The boss roared in pure, unadulterated desperation as his sanctuary vanished. "A magnificent warrior," the spirit exclaimed. "No one had reached this depth or fought so fiercely since the maze began. I thank the gods for this legendary duel." The ghost watched the unfolding battle with breathless, intense anticipation. It had only seen Taesan crush weaklings before. Now, it would witness his true power against a real king. As the throne shifted, the air turned heavy. Taesan didn't hesitate, he charged forward like a bolt of lightning. His strike triggered a massive, earth-shaking explosion. Dust and debris swallowed the entire chamber in a chaotic haze. When the smoke cleared, the throne was rubble. The boss shrieked in agony, his physical form and pride shattered. Desperate, the monster unleashed 2 devastating sword waves. Taesan didn't flinch, he stood firm against the incoming storm. He took the impact head-on to test his limits. His vision blurred as the raw, destructive power surged through him. "System, you have taken 462 damage. Warning. Your survival passive, Immortal Resilience, has been successfully activated. This legendary skill grants 1 second of absolute immortality." "It's over," Taesan muttered, his eyes cold and lethal. He lunged forward, his blade carving through reality. 2 brutal slashes rained down upon the wretched, cursed boss. Seeing his slashes weren't enough, he switched to a thrust. The boss finally collapsed, its strength utterly drained. Truly, a master. The monster gasped before fading. The final guardian of the 3rd floor was finally dead. "System. Victory. You have slain the Goblin High Lord." Taesan exhaled, the tension leaving his battle-worn body. "Your soul has evolved beyond human limits. New active skill obtained. Heavy Strike, the ultimate power, up for your blade. You have also unlocked the special skill, Acceleration." The rewards were even better than his future knowledge suggested. In his past life, he reached this level much later. He grinned, realizing how much faster he was growing now. The fight was tougher, but the hidden rewards were insane. An item to boost mastery? That's a total game changer. Perfect, he thought. This will save me months of grinding. He didn't waste a second equipping his new loot. Taesan reached level 12, his stats perfectly balanced. His presence was becoming that of a true apocalypse king. He was already matching his past peak performance. If he clears the final floor, his power will be godlike. After a short rest, the journey continued deeper. Floor 4, the ruthless, blood-soaked domain of the orc race. They possess massive strength and cunning warrior intellect. Born for war, they would be his greatest challenge yet. To prepare, Taesan visited the ancient altar of Banta. He needed every bit of intel before entering the fray. This sacred site connects directly to the god of the maze. Banta's divine influence permeated the very air in this place. The system chimed, "Banta is pleased with your progress." The god's domain was shifting to favor our rising hero. Suddenly, the ground trembled with a violent, ancient roar. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒍 fell as the maze began to rewrite itself. The confusing labyrinth was morphing into a single straight path. He realized the rules of the world were shifting. Spirits whispered that Banta was personally reshaping the floor. This was beyond any hunter's wildest, most desperate imagination. With the path cleared, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒍 pushed forward. He opened the heavy doors to find his first opponent. A colossal orc stood waiting in the deep shadows. Its eyes glowed crimson, thirsty for a worthy, legendary challenger. It raised its massive blade to crush the intruder. The air froze as the monster prepared its deadly strike. The orc lunged first with a devastating overhead slash. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒍 dodged with the effortless grace of a phantom. Despite its size, the orc was terrifyingly fast. It parried every one of 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒍's rapid, lethal strikes. Standard attacks were useless against this wall of muscle. It was time to unleash his newly awakened secret skills. He combined his power, striking like a falling star. His blade pierced deep into the orc's massive, beating heart. But instead of death, the orc wore a blissful smile. It seemed he had finally found a true, worthy warrior. System. The orc swordsman is satisfied with this duel. Victory achieved. A new legend begins to truly unfold. I expected a struggle, but this is a total cakewalk. 9 rooms remain, and I haven't even broken a sweat yet. Time to clear them all before grabbing a drink. Level up notifications are flooding my vision in a glorious golden stream. Each chime of the system brings a grin to my face. The path is clear, leaving only the final boss standing. Without a shred of fear, I kick the door down. I don't care who's inside. They all look like trash to me. I'll finish this joke of a fight in minutes. But wait, someone is huddled in the corner, sobbing their eyes out. Is that an old acquaintance? My ghost companion is baffled, wondering how a mere human survived this blood-soaked nightmare. Seeing a hero arrive, she rushes toward me for protection. She cries about the labyrinth shifting, trapping her with that beast. She woke up staring into the jaws of that orc. The spirit beside me can't stop laughing at her ridiculous luck. So that's why you were cowering, the ghost mocks. Too bad it was this kid's power that caused this chaos. The orc boss is fuming at being ignored. Am I invisible? I step forward to finally give the monster my attention. While those two gossip, I'll handle the heavy lifting. The monster actually looks relieved to be noticed before its death. I lunge forward with a lethal, merciless strike. Enraged, the orc bellows and swings its massive blade in a desperate counter. But I'm playing in a different league now. Its sluggish attacks are completely useless against my refined, godlike reflexes. Playtime is over. With one swift motion, I send it to the afterlife. Now, time for a chat with this girl. She calls herself Lilith, a mage seeking forbidden knowledge. She's here to master the most advanced and ancient mystic arts. A mage? My curiosity piques. She explains that magic isn't learned. It's a divine talent granted only to a chosen few. Despite lacking talent, her obsession drove her here. In this maze, even the most impossible dreams can become reality. I fall into deep thought. She thanks me for the rescue but apologizes, having nothing of value to offer me. I wonder if she's even 18 yet. She misreads my gaze, looking flustered as if I'm demanding something quite scandalous. Relax, I'm only interested in your mana, I sigh. Why do women always assume the worst of a handsome savior? She looks strangely disappointed that I only care about spells. The ghost suggests she just teaches me some basic arcana. After some prodding, she finally agrees to mentor me. However, being in exile, she currently lacks the necessary teaching tools. The 5th floor is a den of giant goblins. We'll rendezvous in a secret chamber on the 6th floor instead. With a shimmer of light, she vanishes into the void. I'm left staring at the spot, completely caught off guard. She was crying like a baby earlier, yet she's a master of concealment. Women in this world are truly terrifying. With the monsters dead, I enjoy some meat while checking the chat. It seems the others finally cleared floor 1. Their progress is slow and their skills are mediocre, but they're the only ones brave enough to keep pushing forward. Since nobody is online, I start sorting through my rewards. I find a few items that might actually be useful. I can't read this cryptic manual, but the system identifies it. It's the Rite of Rakyat, a legendary sword enhancement. Attack power +5. +5 mana per kill, and a chance to trigger a devastating counterattack on impact. Holding this empowered blade, I show it off to my ghost pal. This is far too powerful for a random drop. Following my post-clear routine, I head to the shop. The merchant grumpily asks what I'm looking for this time. A glowing jar catches my eye. It's blessing powder, rumored to be gathered from fairy wings to grant divine protection. She had vanished, leaving 0 traces behind. a perfect execution of high-level magic that left Taeson truly impressed. With the monsters slain, Taeson rested. He chewed on grilled meat while scrolling through the survivors' global chat. Kang Junhak and Lee Taeon had cleared the first floor. Their progress was slow, but at least they were surviving. No one else dared to step up. Taeson turned his attention back to his loot, searching for a game-changer. A strange notebook caught his eye. The script was illegible, but the system quickly translated the hidden ancient script. It was an equipment engraving, 𝒂𝒏𝒌's sword etiquette, a rare skill designed to elevate a warrior's combat prowess. Attack power +5, plus mana regeneration on every kill. It even granted a chance for a devastating counterattack. Taeson smirked, feeling the surge of power. This was far too potent to be labeled as mere random loot. Is this really a random drop? He questioned. The reward was magnificent, a testament to his unmatched future knowledge. Following his post-clear routine, he returned to the merchant's shop. It was time to gear up for the next trial. What is your business now? The old man barked. Taeson's gaze locked onto a mysterious, softly glowing jar. It was blessing powder, rumored to be harvested from fairy wings. Legend said it granted divine protection to the worthy, a 500 gold mystery. Legends speak of a divine blessing, yet the truth remains hidden. Fools bathed in it for luck, only to meet a pathetic end. Pure rumor or hidden truth? Warriors coated their blades, gaining nothing but a useless shine. Even the ghost was clueless. Taeson smirked. In his past life, this garbage was the ultimate hidden piece. Everyone bought into the hype before, only to be met with zero results. They tossed it aside like trash. That was before I uncovered its legendary potential. Taeson demanded every single bottle. The merchant stared, baffled by this reckless spending. Only 3 bottles remained. Taeson took them all, his plan for total dominance unfolding. The ghost was stunned. How could the gods favor a man who destroys their very trials? To the gods, this labyrinth is just a game. They care for nothing but their own amusement. Even loyal believers receive mere scraps. They treat mediocre rewards like holy relics. Descending to the 5th floor, a colossal nightmare was already waiting for them. The massive gate opened. A giant beast stood ready, blocking the path forward. Compared to the previous floors, this was child's play. Taeson charged, his blade singing with power. With his newly buffed stats, a few strikes were enough to shatter its defense. Not bad at all. Even a boss-level threat would fall before my current strength. The runes made the difference. If the first room is this tough, the final boss must be legendary. Greater danger means god-tier rewards. Taeson carved his path through 4 more rooms. The monsters grew fiercer, draining his stamina. But the ultimate prize was within reach. Finishing this floor meant gaining divine magic. He turned to the ghost, asking about the witch. The ghost sighed. In this cursed maze, immortality is the only constant. That girl has been here since the beginning. I saved her from a bloody fate on floor 4. That was a century ago. She entered this hell to master magic, despite having 0 talent. She wasn't gifted, yet she survived. True survivors aren't the strongest, but those with a goal. I never expected her to last this long. Survival in the labyrinth is a cruel game. More NPCs exist than I remembered. Taeson's detailed guide was already helping others survive. His comrades cleared their first dungeons easily, but the easy mode players were becoming arrogant. They ignored the guide, choosing pride over survival. Then, they mocked solo players as lucky. There's always trash looking to drag others down. Taeson remained cold, ignoring their pathetic barking. Peace is a slow poison for the weak. They vent their frustrations on the innocent. They target solo mode players, the most isolated targets in this crumbling world. In my past life, I crushed these cowards. But now, I'm not there to keep them in check. A guild has likely risen to dominate easy mode. They need a common enemy to stay in power. They've chosen the solo players as their prey. They think we are helpless victims. They believe the different modes can never meet. They think they are safe from my vengeance. But they've made a fatal mistake. Taeson sped toward the floor 5 boss room. The orc leader, Lachan, appeared. Dual-wielding swords, he looked formidable but lacked true spark. Taeson shook his head in disappointment. Another disappointing loot drop, he muttered, drawing his blade. The boss sensed his killing intent. A brave warrior, your spirit outshines that useless god. The orc's eyes blazed with respect. Perhaps this battle won't be a waste of time. We are but eternal slaves in this dungeon. Death is our only path to true freedom. We greet our end with a smile. Only a glorious battle can wash away our shame. Do you think we despise you? No. We crave the release that only a master can provide. Grant me an honorable death. Show me your strength and set my soul free. With a final roar, the leader charged. His fate was sealed. Facing the berserk beast, Taesan showed zero fear, meeting its blade with calm eyes. With the absolute power of an SSS-rank hunter, he crushed the boss in one strike. The dying boss gasped, "Who are you? No mere fifth-floor adventurer possesses such terrifying strength. Your movements aren't just skills. They are the refined instincts of a veteran from countless wars. To perish in a battle this glorious is a warrior's honor." With that, it breathed its last. System, boss of the fifth floor conquered. You have successfully cleared the trial of 𝒂𝒏𝒌. 𝒂𝒏𝒌 is pleased. Reward received, the combat spirit belt, a relic of ancient warriors. Stats, attack +3, defense +3, +5 health and mana for every victory achieved. New special passive skill, combat feats, mastery level 1%. This skill is permanently active. You may permanently increase one stat. Without a moment's hesitation, Taesan chose mana. He moved to the secret room, discovering 2 treasure chests hidden by his future knowledge. The sword inside matched his current gear, but the next item was truly a game-changer. An invisibility cloak. It grants total concealment for 1 second. Cooldown time, 1 hour. 1 second? That's barely a blink. Cursing his luck, he put it on and continued forward. Soon, he reached the treacherous wetlands, exactly as his sister Yeon had described in the past. The swamp terrain was a nightmare for players, but a natural advantage for the lurking monsters. Seeing fresh prey, the swamp creatures closed in, unaware they were hunting a legendary predator. As they surrounded him, Taesan raised a staff. Hellfire erupted, incinerating everything in sight. The monsters were instantly turned into smoked meat. He casually grabbed one by the neck. Like a god of death, Taesan slaughtered every creature until the entire swamp fell silent. He reached a stone tower and activated a hidden mechanism, revealing a ladder leading upward. The witch from before appeared with a bright smile, welcoming her favorite disciple back. She playfully demanded he kneel and call her master, looking incredibly satisfied when he complied. "Magic isn't just a skill," she explained. "It must be inherited or bestowed by a higher power. Magic can split space or warp time, things the system's standard skills could never hope to achieve. That is why mages are revered. And since I am your teacher, you are my disciple. You should call me master more often, right?" Heh. She beamed with pride and joy. To demonstrate, she conjured a violet flame, the air trembling with concentrated mystical energy. To the untalented, this looks like a natural phenomenon, but it is the essence of magic. Since your world lacked magic, it's only natural you find this concept difficult to grasp. The simplest way to learn is a divine contract. The god of magic gave this to me. Taesan grew concerned. He had already rejected several contracts from various gods before. Seeing his doubt, the beautiful witch encouraged him, placing her hand gently on his chest. "System. You have acquired mystic magic. You have unlocked the path of the arcane seeker. Magic mastery, 1%. Currently, you can only generate small sparks of magical energy." She demonstrated again. This time, Taesan saw the flow of mana with perfect clarity. He pulled magic-aligned items from his inventory, wanting to test his new powers immediately. Within seconds, a massive flame ignited in his palm, mirroring her own high-level technique. The witch was stunned by his genius. "How? How did you master that so fast?" she stammered. "Usually, you'd need divine offerings to progress further. But you aren't bound by a contract yet. I will handle the sacrifices. You just collect the items from the lower floors for me." Taesan agreed instantly, causing the young witch to cheer and dance with pure excitement. "Master, can you teach me invisibility or water magic next?" Taesan asked with a smirk. She broke into a cold sweat. That's too advanced. Even for a monster like you, a single drop of water could change fate." The girl beside him trembled, insisting that such power was impossible. "Magic isn't a gift, it's a divine pact. I can't just teach it without a price. To earn the god's favor, a sacrifice is required. You must present a worthy tribute." Taesan summoned endless blades from his inventory. "Is this enough sincerity?" She shook her head. "Quantity means nothing to a god. We need quality, not just heaps of cold steel." Taesan offered his necklace and current sword. "Will these satisfy the Ancient One's hunger?" She hesitated. "The gods might accept it, but you'll struggle with only basic tier magic." Seeing their rejection, Taesan pulled a simple dry stick from his pocket. Unbelievable luck. Her eyes widened in shock. This is enough for a true basic spell, hero. Invisibility is too advanced for now. But you have options. You already know Fireball, right? Ice Bolt mimics Fireball's form. Or Discovery, which tracks every monster's hidden position. Concealment hides your soul. Or Food Creation, which manifests divine sustenance from the void itself. It's tasteless, but vital. Tae-san didn't hesitate. I choose Food Creation. Survival is everything. She began the rite. The wood hovered as she chanted ancient, untranslatable words of power. A massive, terrifying eye manifested through the smoke. Tae-san froze. The gods were real. With a single glance, the eye infused the stick with mana. System. Food creation skill acquired. He can now summon life-sustaining rations. The girl stared, shocked by the god's sudden generosity. Usually, the gods are cruel, demanding more. Want to learn another? She asked, curious. He lacked further tributes. Next time, master. He bowed, planning his next move in this hell. She smiled, reminding him to bring better offerings next time for even more broken abilities. Tae-san departed. Outside, he tested the skill. Even simple water felt like a god's gift. He swapped gear mid-street. The ghost guide blushed. Have you no shame, you crazy regressor? A monster lunged while his defense was 0. It saw an opening to end his journey, but Tae-san was a monster himself. He sidestepped the trident with effortless, predatory grace. He caught the weapon bare-handed. Blood dripped, but his protective shield soaked every ounce of pain. With a flick, he hurled the beast. It crashed, mangled by his overwhelming, raw physical stats. System. Damage reduced by half. Special passive unlocked. Fortified will. A legendary start for him. 0 stamina consumed. Special skill. Attack nullification acquired. Even the ghost was speechless at his growth. The beast rose, desperate. It thrust its weapon again. This time, Tae-san didn't move. He let the blade pass through his chest, a gamble to test his new nullification powers. It worked perfectly. He grabbed the monster's throat and slammed it into a massive oak tree. His power was skyrocketing without even wearing armor. The regressor grinned. This was the path. Nullification doesn't just block, it erases the attack entirely. No enemy can counter this divine law. To test his limits, he entered the boss room unarmored. The ghost screamed at his insanity. Tae-san calmly applied 3 jars of blessing powder. Watch closely. This is how I survive. The lizard boss charged, trident gleaming with lethal intent. It struck him dead center. 0 damage. Attack nullified. Not a single scratch. The ghost could only watch in absolute awe. He smirked, feeling his internal power surge. Even without equipment, he was a walking calamity. This skill didn't just parry, it made the very concept of the attack vanish into nothingness. It's perfect, he whispered. In this apocalypse, I am the one who dictates the rules. He approached the final gate of the floor. Naked and unafraid, he challenged the king. You're insane, the ghost cried. 1 lucky hit and it's over for you, kid. He ignored the warning. Coating his skin in the shimmering dust of 3 blessing jars, the boss lizard roared, sensing the intruder's arrogance, and launched a devastating, high-speed thrust. The trident hit his heart and vanished. The nullification field held firm against the boss's wrath. The ghost guide fell silent. Tae-san stood unscratched, the true king of this dying world. To unlock the second strike nullification skill, one must endure consecutive hits without flinching. The trident-wielding beast roared in frustration. Its stabs were useless against Tae-san's ironclad defense. It aimed for his head next. Tae-san offered his shoulder instead, testing the system's defensive limits. His mana shield absorbed the brunt. Not a single drop of blood was spilled, leaving the creature stunned. Who's the real monster here? It seemed to scream. It unleashed a flurry of desperate stabs, yet Tae-san remained unscathed. He was busy analyzing the system's 10% random damage variance logic. A 30-point strike could fluctuate based on luck. But Tae-san wasn't betting on chance today. His blessing set bonus guaranteed the minimum damage threshold. He had rigged the game in his favor. System, stamina preserved. A golden notification flashed. The legendary passive skill was finally his to command. Second attack nullification was now active. A satisfied smirk played on Tae-san's lips as the plan succeeded. Playtime was over. He leaped into the air, delivering a devastating kick that sent the beast reeling. He juggled the monster like a ball before blasting it skyward. Even the specter was horrified by his cruelty. Don't you think that's overkill? With overwhelming power, Tae-san dual-wielded his blades, carving through the floor's inhabitants. He became a whirlwind of steel. After clearing the mob, the system bestowed another invaluable gift upon him. Weak point strike. A common skill for grinders, yet one he had missed during his past life's exams. After wiping out the fodder, Tayson reached the boss room. But first, he needed to attend to his stomach. He conjured a steaming bowl of porridge with magic. A hunter's life requires fuel, even in a dungeon. He followed it with a hot coffee. Relaxing, he toyed with a flame, pondering his master's mysterious techniques. Her purple flames were legendary. How did she do it, he wondered, regretting not asking her sooner. Driven by curiosity, he began experimenting. He wanted something flashy to show off to his master later on. After several failed attempts, he dispelled the fireballs. He needed a new approach to achieve that ethereal glow. The flames remained stubbornly red. Realizing color wasn't the key, Tayson decided to shift his focus to raw power. He chugged a mana potion and hurled a fireball. Then, he sprinted past it, preparing for a high-speed collision. He launched a second flame into the first. The mana reacted violently, triggering an unexpected and powerful evolution. Velocity fused the distinct magical signatures. A massive, roaring inferno took shape, radiating a heat he'd never felt before. He tested it against the dungeon wall. The resulting blast was magnificent, bringing a wide grin to his face. Armed with his new blazing fireball, Tayson stepped into the boss chamber. A massive fire lizard awaited him. The beast roared, charging at the intruder. It was a terrifying predator, but it had one fatal weakness. Instinctual fear took hold. Seeing the gargantuan sun hovering above Tayson, the boss dropped its weapon and trembled. It wailed in terror. Tayson decided to be merciful, ending its misery instantly with a single scorching blast. What a pathetic boss, the ghost sighed. The battle ended before the creature could even land a strike. Floor 6 was cleared without breaking a sweat. Tayson's path to becoming the server's king was looking inevitable. The system presented the rewards: a staff of calm and a necklace. Standard loot for a legendary conqueror. Though weaker than his current gear, he kept them. They would make perfect fodder for future sacrifices. Returning to the tower, he sought out Master Lily. He hoped for advanced skills, but the rewards were meager. He only received the ice arrow skill. To lighten the mood, he decided to reveal his fire magic breakthrough. He demonstrated the fusion magic outdoors. Lily's jaw dropped in sheer disbelief at the sight of the roaring flames. "Did you find another master?" she gasped. She couldn't fathom how he'd mastered elementary magic so quickly. "It took me a century just to learn invisibility," she exclaimed. Magic ranks were absolute, or so she thought. Basic magic could be imbued into wands, but elementary tiers required raw, unassisted mastery of the elements. Lily slumped to the ground, her mind reeling. Tayson calmly explained his methodology to his shell-shocked mentor. She was petrified with shock. Tayson wondered how a centenarian mage hadn't discovered this simple principle yet. "Mages don't train physical endurance," she laughed. Yet, she thanked him for showing her a brand new world. His presence was a catalyst for change. After their heartfelt talk, the time came for him to depart once more. Saying his goodbyes, Tayson descended back into the darkness. He opened his system, ready for the next floor. Level 18 reached. Balance stats surged, fueling Tayson's growing excitement for the journey ahead. Only 3 more levels until he surpasses his past life's peak. Floor 7 awaits. The ghost smirked. "Fine, I shall grant you the forbidden swordsmanship of my empire." The 𝒂𝒏𝒌 Empire, a ruthless land where might was right and the weak were crushed. Even royals were beasts. I held a blade to my family's throats for the throne. 6 brothers fought, but only I survived. The maze dwellers wondered how I endured. That cruel, blood-soaked world was all I knew. Now, it is gone forever. This technique is my final atonement. Tayson prepared his heart for the grueling lesson. They entered a serene training hall. The ghost issued a chilling warning before starting. "This style is lethal, but it lacks all defense. Do you still dare learn?" Tayson grinned, accepting the risk. The ghost's touch shifted them into a mystic dimension. The spirit transformed into a handsome warrior, radiating an overwhelming sharp pressure. "Witness the Stormscar swordsmanship, the last remaining legacy of my fallen civilization." Suddenly, reverting to spirit form, the ghost began his lecture through sheer theory. "Forget blocking. You must counterattack while maintaining constant fluid movement to survive. Cross your arms, shift left, and strike the heart. Harness your body's full flexibility." Tayson stood there, completely baffled by the complex, abstract instructions he just heard. The ghost scratched his head in frustration. "Damn, teaching without a body is impossible. It is not your lack of talent, but my inability to demonstrate the form. You are still a novice, so be patient." But Tayson had a secret plan. Tayson consumed a divine elixir, instantly boosting his skill mastery by 5%. As the potion took hold, Tayson's aura shifted. He looked like a true master. Blades in both hands, he moved with divine grace, ready to test his power. He charged into the woods. With a few flashes of steel, monsters fell instantly. By the night's fire, the ghost watched in silence, unable to believe his eyes. I knew he was strong, but this? I almost feel pity for the monsters. 12 hours of carnage, 6 hours of study. Taesan was a literal training demon. A new day began. Taesan alternated between potion-fueled grinds and relentless sword practice. Parrying became effortless, yet Taesan felt a void. Something crucial was still missing. A massive beast emerged from the shadows. The ghost whispered, "Close your eyes." Though confused, Taesan obeyed. "Empty your mind and let the blade lead you. Trust your intuition. Hunt your prey with the ferocity of a wild predator." Following the master's voice, Taesan moved. In that darkness, his true power awakened. Every swing was a fatal blow. His overwhelming speed left the beast no openings. 2 strikes were all it took. The ghost erupted in rare, genuine praise. Wolf's Fang mastered. There are many forms left, but these weaklings are beneath you. The second strike must wait for floor 10. You have exceeded all expectations, Taesan. In another dark corner of the dungeon, Yan choked down monster flesh, weeping. She dreamed of the warm meals from her past, trapped in this living nightmare. Suddenly, the system flared with light. A special quest. Return to Earth has begun. Return to your home in 7 days. Survival is your only objective now. Rewards scale with performance. This quest cannot be refused. The players froze. The world chat erupted into absolute chaos. Hope and terror clashed in every message. Is Earth even safe? It is a wasteland of monsters now, the players cried. Amidst the mixed emotions, one voice rose to object to the forced return. The atmosphere grew toxic as the warnings fell on deaf ears. His comrades snarled, leaving him to rot alone in the darkness. Taesan watched their retreating backs in silence. He knew the clock was ticking toward the world's inevitable end. He vowed to transcend time itself and accelerate his conquest. Floor 7 fell before his overwhelming might in record time. A legendary stone granted him 10 points of agility from the chest. He scavenged the corpses, seeking every hidden advantage. New earrings granted him 10 points of mana. He braced for the pain, piercing his ears to claim the power. After refining his arts under his beautiful master, the hunt resumed. He descended into floor 8, his eyes blazing with resolve. The system announced a simple decree. Slay the floor boss. A massive avian nightmare screeched, challenging the regressor's path. Hunger flared within him as he launched into the heavens. With a single, devastating strike, he slammed the beast down. The pathetic creature crumbled instantly under his absolute strength. Time was too precious for a feast. The apocalypse waited for no one. Magic tore through the mobs like a scythe through wheat. He finally stood before the mystical altar of the god Oman. The divine system flickered to life with a new trial. Oman demanded a display of power, promising rewards beyond imagination. A predatory grin spread across Taesan's face at the prospect. He accepted the challenge, hungering for more divine loot. Water swirled and solidified into a humanoid form before him. The system's command was clear. Annihilate the liquid warrior. Drawing his twin blades, he leaped back to gauge the enemy. But the creature moved like a snail in a frozen world. A casual swing sent its head flying into the abyss. Yet, the pool bubbled again as a new challenger emerged. The second puppet was swifter, but still moved in slow motion. One strike was all it took to return it to the water. A third, even faster opponent manifested from the depths. Taesan realized this was an infinite ladder of escalating power. The harder the kill, the more legendary the spoils would be. He became a whirlwind of steel, butchering wave after wave. Each shadow was stronger than the last, yet none could touch him. He moved through the carnage with the grace of a god. Boredom set in, so he alternated between ice and fire. He turned the trial into a playground for his elemental mastery. His skill proficiency soared with every heart-pounding exchange. Finally, the last monster fell, leaving a deafening silence behind. Anticipation burned in his chest as he waited for his prize. But the system remained hauntingly silent, fueling his rising curiosity. The ghost mentor erupted in mocking laughter at his confusion. He realized then that he had been played like a fool. The trial of Oman was capped at his current floor level. The divine challenge had hit its limit, halting his progress. To push beyond destiny, a heavy price would have to be paid. The god demanded a fee to intervene further in this realm. Taesan sighed in disappointment at the weaklings he had faced. He turned to leave, unimpressed by the supposedly divine trial. Suddenly, the system flared as Oman's divine presence wavered. A new, more perilous challenge was offered to the lone hunter. Prove your worth once more against the true darkness. Oman's ego was bruised, demanding a final test of his strength. The ghost mocked the divine desperation with a cynical roar. Who would trust the fickle words of a prideful god again? Yet, 𝒌𝒏 was never one to back down from a gamble. He accepted the quest, eager to see what lay beyond. Shadows from the higher floors materialized, dripping with lethal intent. This was the challenge he had been waiting for all along. Each puppet was a master of combat, pushing him to evolve. He unleashed a new style of swordsmanship to bridge the gap. The ease of the lower floors was a distant memory now. Every exchange was a dance on the edge of a blade. The ghost whispered the truth of these hollow, vengeful warriors. They were the echoes of those who failed the dungeon before, failed traitors and fallen heroes, bound to the god's will. They were nothing but puppets lost in the maze of history. These were the ghosts of the forgotten, doomed to serve forever. 𝒌𝒏 carved through their ranks with unwavering focus and grit. He ascended through floors 13 and 14 with sheer willpower. The puppets began weaving a complex tapestry of deadly skills. Despite their many techniques, they lacked the spark of life. Their movements were mechanical, predictable, and ultimately flawed to his eyes. They were easier to dismantle than the warriors of flesh. He wondered if the next floor would finally offer a challenge. He pushed his body to the limit, seeking the ultimate peak. By floor 15, the system showered him with divine upgrades. Strength increased by 6, agility by 5, and mana by 4. His soul resonated with a newly awakened spiritual fortification. The relentless grind continued until he reached the 18th floor. The puppets there summoned dragons made of pure, destructive energy. Yet even the drakes fell before his peerless, godlike growth. No ordinary mortal could ever hope to match his meteoric rise. But a true storm was finally brewing on the 19th floor. A titan 3 times his size loomed over him like death. A massive axe swung down with the force of a mountain. 𝒌𝒏 blocked it effortlessly as system warnings screamed in the air. Surrender? Not a chance. Despite the system's warnings, 𝒌𝒏's battle lust burns as he charges. While clashing, he analyzes the enemy. The assault skill creates a 270-degree arc, but there is a fatal flaw. Once triggered, the back is exposed. He waits for the opening. Haste and Power Strike activate simultaneously. 𝒌𝒏 leaps, driving his blade straight into the heart. Target neutralized, but the next stage begins instantly. A new trial emerges from the shadows. The enemy unleashes absolute victory. The system begs him to take the rewards and leave, but our regressor is greedy for power. Ignoring the warnings, he draws his sword for more. A mistake. The impact sends him reeling. His health bar flickers as he barely survives the blow. Enraged, he triggers Frenzy. But the dummy is no amateur, activating Counterburst to repel him. Slammed into the dirt, he tastes blood. Stubbornness has its price. He wipes his face, calculating. This counter skill scales with the user's power. A high-tier ability he learned much later. The dummy's health is low. Just a little more. He gathers his remaining strength for one push. With a roar, he combines Haste and Power Strike again. Defense is abandoned, for pure force. He lands the killing blow but pays in blood. 200 health points vanish in an instant. Realizing brute force is risky, he vanishes. Using his invisibility cloak, he positions for a backstab. Through grit and dirty tactics, floor 20 is cleared. Exhausted, he collapses, gasping for air. Suddenly, the 21st monster rises. Recognizing his limit, 𝒌𝒏 finally raises his hands. I yield. That is enough. The system announces the challenge over. Time for the rewards. The reward is the Ring of Perseverance. 5 strength, 5 defense. Honestly, it is absolute trash. Sensing his disappointment, the entity offers a sect contract. 𝒌𝒏 rejects it without a second thought. Insulted, the NPC splashes water in his face. What kind of crazy spirit is this guy? 𝒌𝒏 shrugs it off and leaves. Floor 20 is his current peak, a crucial piece of data. This information is gold for the public. It is time to update his 2 loyal followers. But first, more grinding. He enters the secret room to hunt the floor 8 boss. 1 strike. That is all it took. Even a boss cannot withstand his refined SSS tier techniques. Is everyone this weak? He sighs, sitting on the corpse while opening a hidden treasure chest. Inside lies the Rune of Marius, a rare item that unlocks hidden attributes within any weapon. No time to waste on the witch. He descends straight to floor 9, moving like a shadow. The monsters here wear heavy armor, yet they are mere pebbles. 1 basic slash kills them. He sprints past the fodder, reaching the boss room instantly. Efficiency is the key to dominance. Under the veil of invisibility, he delivers a cold execution. The boss never saw him coming. Another secret room discovered. This time, he faces a legendary figure named the Goblin Lord. Seated upon his throne, the Lord speaks of legacy. Every soul must leave a mark before death. Is it wrong to seek glory? Dying as a king is better than dying as a pawn. He knew this day would come. The air grows heavy with the scent of an honorable end. Fight me, young warrior. Taesan scowls. This monster talks too much. Time is wasting away. Dual blades drawn, he lunges forward. Steel clashes as the air begins to scream in agony. The Lord realizes the gap. My skills cannot match yours. My body fails to follow my will. Success chance is 0%. Yet, he fights on. For glory is found on the battlefield. With a final breath, the king falls. Taesan stands over the fallen ruler, the victor again. The loot is a spear of haste, adding 10 attack. But the prize is the title. Kingslayer, a divine buff that increases all stats when facing those who wear a crown. Feeling a bit nostalgic, he visits the witch. A few new spells won't hurt his arsenal. After restocking at the shop, his preparation is complete. The journey into the unknown continues. He reaches floor 10. A ghostly presence flickers before him, whispering secrets from the beyond. Remember our mission, the spirit whispered, thanking him for their long, noisy journey. Grinding was over. Taesan now hunted only for secret rooms and elite bosses. Looting the blue ring granted 10 mana. Now, he headed to free the trapped spirit. Ready for battle, Taesan unleashed his upgraded gear. The air crackled with power. Gripping his new weapon, his blood boiled with excitement. Time to test this god-tier strength. Suddenly, space fractured. The maze timer hit 0, and Earth pulled him back home. The fresh air was gone. Only the stench of asphalt and rot greeted his return. This was no illusion, this was Earth. The spirit panicked, terrified by this alien world. Ignoring the ghost's whining, Taesan searched for food. He missed the taste of home. 3 months had passed. The supermarket was a graveyard of spoiled, rotting waste. Only canned goods remained. Taesan sparked a flame, grilling a feast fit for a king. After packing rations, he moved out. The spirit couldn't stop asking about this strange world. Taesan explained modern life to his spectral friends: steel boxes and concrete towers. Those are human homes, and those iron beasts are cars, the carriages of our age. Suddenly, a massive rift tore the sky. A green monster lunged from the shadows. It was fast, but to Taesan, it was child's play. He moved like lightning. Catching its tentacle, he spun the beast like a toy for his own amusement. A fireball reduced it to ash. Then, the system flashed. Mission: reach City Hall. The streets were a ghost town. Desolation hung heavy over the once thriving city. They found only silence and a lone corpse. Then, a voice broke the stillness. A young man approached. Heading to City Hall? You must be an easy mode player. I'm Gun, a hard mode survivor. You should follow me if you want to live. Gun invited him to join his group. Taesan shrugged and followed. Why not? They reached a bustling camp. The silence of the dungeon was replaced by human chatter. Voices whispered his name. Is that Taesan, the legendary solo player from the chats? He scanned the 100 survivors. Most were weakling survivors of easy and normal modes. The ghost realized he was invisible. Only Taesan could see his spectral form. Gun signaled the march toward City Hall. Fear gripped the crowd of low-level players. Don't worry, Gun declared heroically. I'll protect you all. The crowd swooned instantly. Girls cried in relief. Handsome, strong, and kind, he was their shining white knight. The warrior spirit watched in disgust. These survivors are pathetic. Nothing but weak refugees. Even Gun was mediocre. To the spirit, he lacked the soul of a true warrior. Why stay with this trash, Taesan? The spirit grumbled, sensing a monster ahead. A 2-meter slime beast blocked their path. Gun stepped forward, brandishing his blade. Stay back, Gun shouted. I'll handle this. The hard mode player prepared for battle. It was an F-rank mob, yet on Earth, it felt like an unstoppable titan. Maze rules didn't apply here. This creature was a nightmare for ordinary people. Even for Gun, this minion was a struggle. Sweat poured down as they clashed. After a desperate struggle, Gun won. The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers and praise. But Taesan stood still, his expression cold and unimpressed by the amateur display. The pattern continued. Gun played hero while the rest cowered and hid in fear. When new monsters appeared, the crowd fled like rats instead of fighting back. Pathetic. Bored, Taesan flicked a pebble. The stone struck with the force of a bullet. The monster vanished instantly. The survivors blinked, staring at the empty space in shock. Gun rushed over to check the perimeter, baffled. The threat was gone without a trace. The beast vanished into thin air. A divine disappearance with zero clues left behind. Gun was stunned. As the lone hard-mode survivor, his instincts screamed of danger. While others trembled in fear, 𝒂𝒏 remained eerily calm, as if he foresaw this. His mysterious foresight was chilling. But time was a luxury they no longer had. Gun rallied the front lines while 𝒂𝒏 secretly purged the shadows from behind. The journey continued. A lingering soul raged at the pathetic cowardice of the living. Are they mindless? Even as weaklings, unity is their only hope for survival. They chose retreat over resistance. The spirit roared at these bottom-tier losers. Discard your lives to fight. These trash-tier humans won't even lift a finger. 𝒂𝒏 winced. Only he could hear the ghost's irritating, soul-piercing screams. Nobody is born a legend. Power is forged through blood and desperate gambles. 𝒂𝒏 felt like an anomaly. Most chose easy or normal, never the true abyss. Different modes, different monsters. But floor 100 remained the ultimate goal. This labyrinth felt like a lazy replica, a sloppy imitation of a greater design, yet the scale was divine. What entity possessed the power to construct this nightmare? Was it a god? Or something far more sinister lurking in the higher dimensions? F-rank monsters? If they wanted us dead, they would have sent the executioners. This wasn't a slaughter, it was an experiment. We are being watched like toys. Gods love the scent of human struggle. The ghost wondered why 𝒂𝒏 hid. If you want to save them, show your true face. You love playing hero. 𝒂𝒏 scoffed. I only invest in potential. Gun is worth my temporary goodwill. He needed Gun alive until the end. The others were merely disposable pawns. In the previous timeline, Gun led them too, only to arrive alone and broken. Night fell like a heavy shroud. The survivors huddled, desperate for a moment's peace. Monster meat tasted like filth, yet they gorged themselves to avoid starvation's bite. 𝒂𝒏 slipped away to enjoy real rations, drawing eyes filled with poisonous envy. A 2-meter-tall thug approached. Share the food, kid, or face the consequences. I'm a normal mode leader. You should know exactly who you're messing with. It was 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 of the Athena Guild. A man known for ruthless ambition. Hand it over if you want to survive the night. Don't tempt the guild. 𝒂𝒏 didn't blink. I doubt you'll even live long enough to see the sunrise. Enraged, the thug lunged. But Gun intervened, effectively saving the fool's life. The thug kept barking like a mangy dog, oblivious to his near-death experience. This is personal, Gun. Step aside, and let me teach this brat a lesson. Gun slammed him down with overwhelming force. Know your place before I break it. 𝒂𝒏 watched in silence, surprised by the sudden ferocity in Gun's cold eyes. Under the moonlight, 𝒂𝒏 approached. Exhaustion will kill you faster than any beast. Gun sighed heavily. They fear abandonment. I have to be their unbreakable pillar. To ensure survival, I must rule them. There is no other way forward. Thanks to you, they finally listen. I owe you one for the leverage, 𝒂𝒏. 𝒂𝒏 looked at his friend. You're strong enough to reach the end alone. Hard mode survival is 1%. Destiny decides who breathes and who rots. A few days in that hell teaches you that kindness is a fatal weakness. Saving the weak only delays their end. Why waste your life for nothing? Gun prepared to retort, but a sudden, chilling presence froze his very soul. A chilling shiver ran down my spine. His gaze. It felt like he had witnessed 10,000 deaths. I knew it. No mere player could possess such a terrifying aura. Who exactly are you, 𝒂𝒏? Revealing the truth now would spoil the mystery. We'll talk at the city hall, 𝒂𝒏 replied. Rest while you can. At dawn, Gun rallied the survivors for the final push. But they had overlooked several fatal details. First, the monsters were specifically targeting anyone nearing the plaza. Second, solo travelers were already dead, or arrived. The swarm grew immense. Realizing he couldn't hold them, Gun screamed, Run! Get out of here now! Facing 2 was a struggle. 3 meant certain death. Even with his stats, the odds were simply impossible. Yet, the city hall was right there. He just had to buy them time. No matter the cost, like a madman, Gun threw himself into the fray to protect the weak. He slashed through the horde. But protecting these terrified baggages drained his focus. Cowards. Why won't they even try to fight back? All they did was wail and beg for salvation. Useless. Now, he was cornered, with monsters closing in. Gun's breath came in ragged gasps. Why are these bastards so obsessed with killing us? What now? No items left. No way to win this battle. Even if he fought, the result was the same. Everyone would die. Unless he escaped alone. With his S-rank agility, he could outrun these beasts. Abandoning them was his only shot at survival. The logic was cold. Should he just let them die? But these people trusted him. They followed him into this nightmare. Can he really just discard them? If he was going to betray them, he shouldn't have saved them. I'll protect them until the end. His heart wavered in the face of death. If only I were stronger. If only I were enough. Sensing the boy's hesitation, Taeson stepped forward. Want to run? Whatever you choose, I won't judge you. Gun collapsed, tears blurring his vision as he cursed his weakness. Suddenly, a monster lunged from the shadows. Asterisk, Shing, asterisk. A flash of sharp sword chi bisected the beast before it could even screech. Taeson looked back with a nonchalant gaze. Take a breather, kid. I'll handle the rest of this. The regressor stepped into the swarm with terrifying confidence. The monsters roared, but they faced a true predator. His power was on a completely different dimension. With a casual flick, the entire horde was annihilated. They finally reached the city hall. Thousands of survivors were already gathered in the massive plaza. Our protagonist walked into the main hall, scanning for any useful intel or hidden threats. 500,000 souls once lived here. Now, barely 100,000 remained. The apocalypse was merciless. While Taeson strategized in silence, Gyunho approached him. He scratched his head, looking completely in awe. I knew you were a hidden solo mode master, he laughed, handing over water while praising Taeson's skills. Grabbing Taeson's hand, Gyunho's eyes shone with loyalty. You didn't just share skills, you saved my life. I'll follow you anywhere. I'm yours to command, Taeson. The devotion was a bit much. Taeson felt a literal shiver of cringe. He hurled the bottle at Gyunho's face. Stop acting so weird. Gun just grinned, unfazed. Such charisma, he cheered. Taeson sighed. This kid was way too friendly now. What is wrong with him? Taeson muttered. Suddenly, a beautiful woman approached them with a serious face. It was Kim Ha-yeon, a hard mode player. She looked like she carried the weight of the world. We have 100,000 people here, she began. But the situation is reaching a breaking point. Only 1,000 can actually fight. Most are from easy mode. They are helpless against the monsters. Food is scarce. Space is limited. Chaos is brewing as we wait for the next mission to open. We need a leader, she explained. But the selection process has turned into a total nightmare. A man named Choi Jung-ho from easy mode is using dirty tricks to seize absolute power. I told him a weakling who can't kill a monster can't lead. But he just laughed at me. He accused me of elitism. Then, he did the unthinkable. He started taking hostages to force compliance. Facing him head-on is too risky. Gun's eyes widened. Who exactly did he capture? Lee Tae-yeon and Kang Junho, she whispered. Taeson froze. Those were his fellow solo mode veterans. How could players of their legendary caliber be caught by an easy mode parasite? Something is very wrong. Arriving at the scene, they find the hostages bound. Taeson steps forward, eyes burning with cold, focused fury. Zeon desperately blocks him, pleading for restraint. In this crumbling world, she still fears the cost of violence. Taeson looms over her, his voice a chilling whisper. Law is dead, sister. Only power remains in this apocalypse. She refuses to yield, clinging to humanity. We cannot become monsters. We must not shed the blood of others. Taeson falls silent. Memories of his third regression haunt him. He remembers her rigid, unbreakable sense of morality. In that timeline, she died a martyr. She perished trying to protect people with rules that no longer existed. Misinterpreting his silence, Zeon shudders. She senses a murderous intent radiating from him like a sharpened, invisible blade. His aura rivals Gun's. Realizing the danger, she decides she must stop him before he commits an irreversible act. Before she can move, Taeson strikes. One swift blow sends Zeon crashing to the floor in total shock. Gun watches, horrified. Taeson leaps, shattering the concrete beneath his feet and vanishing like a sudden violent gale. He moves with godlike speed. In his past life, the enemy was a notorious debt collector and absolute scum, a coward who survived the maze through treachery. He once betrayed the very savior who pulled him from death. After murdering his benefactor, the villain thrived. He embraced the darkness, becoming a snake in this lawless new world. Now, he gloats in his lair. To him, this void is a playground where morality is just a pathetic joke. In this confined hell, madness is easy to spread. He knows exactly how to push people into total despair. He rules through blood and terror. Silence is rewarded with life, while any resistance is met with instant execution. It is a perfect, twisted kingdom. He revels in the absolute obedience of those too broken to fight back. Dion spits in defiance. If you didn't play these sick games, you would have been dead long ago. Coward. The villain just laughs from his throne. I simply recognize my strength. Besides, Lady Luck is on my side. He remembers his lucky start. Teleported straight to a safe zone, he never faced the horrors of the monsters. He scoffs at solo mode players. To him, those legends are just fragile weaklings who barely survived the trial. He considers them no better than easy mode trash, simple prey to be hunted by his greedy, cruel hands. Arrogance blinds him. He believes their survival was mere luck, failing to realize the true power of a regressor. Use your brains, he sneers. You should have abandoned the weak and fought me like real warriors would. Your kindness is a leash. I have always used fools like you to climb higher in this cruel world. Suddenly, the heavy doors explode. The villain's laughter dies as a shadow emerges from the smoke and fire. 𝒂𝒏 walks through the debris. He radiates a crushing pressure that makes the very air feel like lead. The villain's instincts scream in terror. Every nerve in his body signals an absolute, unavoidable death flag for him. Trembling, he grabs his radio. Stop. One more step and I will order the execution of every single hostage. 𝒂𝒏 prepares to strike, but Gun and Xion rush forward. They still hope to prevent a total massacre. How can you threaten innocent lives? Xion cries out, desperate to stop 𝒂𝒏 from becoming a cold killer. The villain sighs, masking his fear with ego. It is simple. I want safety and total command here. My life for theirs, he bargains. It is a pathetic plea from a rat cornered by a true apex predator. I am a leader, he barks. What do children know of power? I have ruled hundreds in my mode. You are just a girl playing hero. You cannot possibly comprehend the weight of my experience and my history. He mocks Xion's soft heart. He is convinced she lacks the stomach to kill another human being today. You can slay monsters, but murder is different. He taunts them, hiding behind the shield of their own morality. He believes he has won this psychological game. He thinks their goodness is a cage he can safely inhabit. In a blink, his radio vanishes. 𝒂𝒏 holds the device, crushing it into dust like soft, wet clay. The villain's heart stops. How did he move? Panic finally takes hold as his ultimate leverage is destroyed. He triggers his final trap. Massive iron beams collapse from the ceiling, aiming to crush 𝒂𝒏 into pulp. The room shakes as dust settles. Everyone watches in horror, fearing the legendary hunter has finally been buried. But 𝒂𝒏 emerges from the wreckage, unscathed, untouched. A literal god walking among mere, terrified mortal men. The system confirms the impossible zero damage taken. Terrified, the villain screams for his hidden army to attack now. Dozens of armed thugs swarm from the shadows. They surround our hero, blades drawn and ready for blood. With zero mercy, 𝒂𝒏 summons a frostblade and strikes. A single flash kills everyone. 𝒂𝒏 trembles, knowing he is next. You have numbers, 𝒂𝒏 mocks. They might fail, but I won't. He slowly approaches, eyes cold, ready to end this with bare hands. 𝒂𝒏 slams his head into the wall. The ghost watches, amused. Oh? Finally playing around, aren't you? The ghost chuckles mischievously. Trapped and hopeless, 𝒂𝒏 shakes like a leaf before a storm. 𝒂𝒏 crushes his skull effortlessly, discarding the body like trash. Witnesses scream in horror, calling him a heartless, demonic murderer. Ignoring them, 𝒂𝒏 and the ghost walk into the sunset. He was a top player once. 𝒂𝒏 recalls his past life struggle. Back then, it took months to win. Now, it's child's play. Gunsu rushes over, panicking about the impending trouble ahead. Leon and the others are. 𝒂𝒏 cuts him off immediately. I don't care. Soon they won't be able to say anything. At City Hall, hard mode players rage over 𝒂𝒏's cold brutality. We can't ignore this murder. He must face the law. Provocation or not, he crossed the line. Punishment is mandatory. Xion slams the table in fury, silencing the room's hypocrites. Punish him? The man who slaughtered a crowd alone? Are you insane? An old politician shouts. You're just a student. You know nothing. Power shouldn't grant favoritism. This world still needs order and rules. We aren't wild animals. We must maintain control through the law. Yeon bites back her rage, realizing how delusional these people are. I thought a former politician would be useful. I was wrong. They are fools, blind to the brutal reality of this new world. They waste food while refusing to clear the labyrinth's deadly floors. I regret bringing them. They talk big but possess zero strength. Who could even stop him? If we anger him, we're dead. They only crave their lost authority. Does 𝒂𝒏 despise me too? Suddenly, a system alert blazes. A special mission has appeared. First wave. 12 hours remaining. Defend the city hall at all costs. Panic erupts. The leaders scramble to find a way to survive. Yeon prepares to lead, but the noisy cowards have already fled. Loud-mouthed weaklings, she spits. Meanwhile, Taeson gets the same notification. It's starting. Yeon will manage. She was a legend before. His two companions approach him quietly from the shadows, finally meeting in person. Thank you for saving those innocent hostages. Was that a quest, or just a glimpse of your power? Taeson gazes at Yeon, his heart heavy with memories of her. In this timeline, she's younger, timid, and clearly afraid of him. The wave hits in 10 hours. I'll train you both now. Draw your swords. Kangjun, your recklessness is a death wish. You lack limits. And Leeton, your cowardice is holding you back. You survive by hiding, but you'll never claim the ultimate rewards. I refuse to see you two die. I am forcing a duel where our stats will be perfectly equalized. This path has no easy answers, but today, you will finally witness the true ceiling of your skills. Hawk was stunned, his voice trembling. Is our level not far too low to even challenge a monster like you? Taeson sighed, explaining that the system would suppress his overwhelming stats to match their current lowly level. I will even seal my active skills. You have no right to refuse anyway, so just accept your fate. Fine, let's do this. Hawk barked, his heart racing. He saw this as the ultimate chance to prove himself. This was it. Time to show Taeson that he was no longer a weakling who needed constant protection. Against Taeson's true power, he had zero hope. But with mirrored stats, he felt victory was within reach. Hawk drew his blade and lunged with everything he had. Yet, something felt chillingly wrong from the start. Despite the stat sync, Taeson blocked Hawk's desperate two-handed strike with just one casual hand. It was humiliating. A simple, effortless pivot from Taeson dealt 8 damage. Hawk couldn't fathom why the gap still felt so massive. Refusing to yield, Hawk unleashed a frantic barrage. But before he could land a hit, a trick played out. An electric shock paralyzed his entire body. Moments later, he lay defeated in the dirt, unable to move. Taeson slammed his sword down. Sensory perception, judgment, and striking vitals, that is what creates the real difference. You are strong for Earth, but for solo mode, you are still far from ready. Hawk gritted his teeth. How can technique create such a devastating wall? If you want to know, Taeson grinned. Then get up. He ordered his disciple back into the fray. Only through endless, brutal combat will your skills truly awaken. 30 minutes passed, and the result remained unchanged. Hawk lay collapsed, his stamina and spirit completely broken. Finding no more sport in the boy, Taeson turned his icy gaze toward Zeon. She nearly died of fright. I already know how weak I am, she sobbed, pleading for mercy. We do not need to fight. Ignoring her tears, Taeson forced the duel anyway. In this apocalypse, mercy is a luxury they cannot afford. He lunged without a shred of hesitation. Zeon squeezed her eyes shut, screaming for her life in terror. Taeson struck ruthlessly. The sheer force of the blow sent Zeon crashing onto her backside, completely overwhelmed. In a panic, she swung her blade wildly. Taeson danced back a step before closing in to pin her. He locked her arms, but Zeon was not done yet. She used every ounce of strength to push back. Hawk watched in awe. Her movements were messy, yet she was somehow parrying every single one of Taeson's strikes. This girl is full of surprises. Zeon lunged again, but Taeson's reaction speed was on a different level. He grabbed her shoulder and slammed her down. Such savagery. Is this how you treat a beautiful lady? After the battle, Taeson offered a rare word of encouragement. You are not nearly as weak as you think, but do not get reckless. Training is over. Now, listen closely if you want to survive the labyrinth. For hours, Taeson lectured them on secret techniques and conquest strategies. He did not even pause for food. His throat went dry as night fell. That is enough. Share this knowledge with the other players immediately. And please, try not to die. Hawk scratched his head, confused by Taeson's sudden change in tone. First, he beats us senseless. Now he is being sentimental? Something feels very suspicious about this kindness. If I were truly cold-blooded, would I waste time teaching you? Taeson retorted with a sharp, warning glance. Go rest. Tomorrow, the first great sweep begins. Stay sharp and make sure you both survive. They parted ways, and Taeson checked the system. Time was running out, and many innocents would soon fall. He headed to Zeon's quarters. Even on hard mode, the poor girl could not sleep from the stress. Skilled fighters were rare, and too many fools were trying to play leader. It was a massive headache. Sensing someone at the door, Xian called out, "Taesan, why are you lurking around like a ghost? Close your window," Taesan warned. High-stat assassins could slip in easily. He hopped inside to begin strategizing. They analyzed the map together. Enemies will come from every direction. We must divide our forces tonight. Guarding City Hall from within is a nightmare. The chaos and movement of the crowd make it impossible. I will move everyone outside before the mission starts. But many are terrified and refuse to fight. They are paralyzed by fear. How on earth can I convince them to pick up their weapons? Seeing the girls struggle, Taesan's cold voice cut through. "Leave one side to me. I'm more than enough. Reassign your forces elsewhere." Yeon froze in shock. Was this man a god or just completely delusional? With no other choice, she reluctantly agreed. "Fine. Just make sure your skills actually match your arrogance, and don't you dare fall asleep." With the plan set, Taesan vanished to prepare for the coming slaughter. 0 hour approached. 30 minutes before the carnage, the strongest warriors assembled at the final front line. Most were mere office workers with zero combat experience. The air was thick with the scent of fear. Terror paralyzed them. They wanted to run, but there was nowhere to hide. Only a few stood firm. Taesan stood alone. No support? No problem. His confidence radiated like the aura of an unstoppable king. 7 o'clock sharp. The earth shrieked as a violent tremor tore through the ground beneath their feet. Abominations surged from the abyss, surrounding the city hall. Panic ignited like wildfire among the terrified civilians. Yeon's command roared out. "Hold the line. No retreating." She lunged forward, becoming a whirlwind of destruction. She fought like a demon, yet was forced to protect the weak while slaughtering the endless monster horde. "Saving a survivor," she screamed. "Their power is low, stay sharp, and we might actually survive this nightmare. Join forces and fight." Her desperate rallying cry sparked a flicker of hope in their trembling eyes. Bravery ignited. They charged together. To their shock, the monsters were far weaker than they had imagined. One-shots everywhere. Yeon finally smiled as hope returned. But elsewhere, the true legendary monsters were at work. The high-tier rankers were performing absolute miracles. Low-level players watched, their jaws hitting the floor in awe. Are they even human? The rankers just shrugged it off. Meanwhile, the true legend was carving his path. On the southern front, Taesan was untouchable. Not a single monster could graze even a hair on him. With casual swings, he sent legions to the afterlife. The gap in power was utterly, terrifyingly massive. Not a single drop of sweat fell. Within 5 minutes, his entire sector became a silent monster graveyard. A system barrier blocked his path. Bored, the SSS-class hunter sat down to wait for the others. Inspired by the carnage, the survivors fought like demons. Victory finally seemed within their desperate grasp, but the cheers died instantly. A system window flashed. The second wave of the apocalypse begins now. Defend City Hall. Kill all hostiles. The mission was simple, but the pressure was soul-crushing for everyone. How long would this hell last? Then, the sky cracked. A spatial rift tore open the world. A hideous nightmare crawled out. Yeon's blood ran cold. She knew instantly, this one was a true predator. A cocky youth, hungry for glory, charged in blindly. He had no idea he was facing certain death. His full power strike did 1 damage. Confusion turned to horror as the beast loomed over him. Tentacles lashed out, crushing him instantly. The crowd watched in paralyzed terror as their hope shattered again. What could they do against such a beast? Pure, unadulterated chaos erupted as the monster began its feast. Satisfied with its first kill, the beast turned its hunger toward the crowd. Fresh prey awaited it. Survival instinct took over. Everyone fled, abandoning the front lines to save their own pathetic lives. Only Yeon stood her ground, screaming, "Don't run. If we retreat now, our deaths will be meaningless." A surge of murderous intent sliced the air. She ducked just in time, the wind grazing her skin. Those behind her weren't so lucky. Blood sprayed everywhere. Then, in a flash of silver, the beast fell. Taesan sat atop the cooling corpse. He had appeared like a ghost from the shadows to end it. An invisible shield separated him from the weaklings. Seeing they were safe, he dove into the next rift. Entering the distortion, he moved like lightning. A lazy flick of his blade carved through waves of enemies. The fodder perished instantly. Suddenly, the system flared. Special quest. Destroy the vessel of the dark swamp. Easy enough, Taesan muttered. He unleashed a flurry of lethal thrusts against the mysterious, dark gate. Not a single scratch. Suddenly, a colossal wolf lunged from the shadows, its fangs bared for the kill. It clamped onto his bloodsword with a thunderous roar, nearly knocking the legendary hunter off his feet. A sonic wave attack? Taesan blinked. This was a combat pattern even he hadn't fully prepared for. In this world, the lower the monster's number, the higher its rank. A true king had finally arrived. Usually, these waves only spawn low-rank trash. But this? A D-rank nightmare is lurking in the shadows. Before his regression, these very monsters were the harbingers of doom, driving humanity to the brink of extinction. In his third life, this was a suicide mission. But now, Taesan charges forward with godlike precision. His twin blades dance in a whirlwind of steel, carving through the beast's hide with lethal, overwhelming speed. The giant wolf has massive health, barely feeling the sting. It pounces, pinning Taesan down with razor-sharp claws. But he's prepared. Activating his nullification skill, Taesan negates the impact, taking 0 damage from the beast. He strikes back instantly. Frost arrows erupt, freezing the monster's massive limb into a block of solid ice. As the wolf falters in confusion, Taesan vaults high and plunges his blade deep into its gaping maw. From inside the creature's throat, he ignites hellfire. The inferno incinerates its internal organs in a single, fiery blast. The beast is reduced to a charred husk in seconds. Another victory for the hunter who knows the future. With the monster slain, Taesan consumes a high-grade mana potion to prepare for the next phase of battle. Energy surges back. He unleashes the 18 frost palms, striking the spatial rift with a wave of absolute zero. The rift shatters and vanishes. The system confirms it. The special hidden mission has been cleared, with perfect marks. Legendary rewards await in the labyrinth. Taesan turns back, checking on the survivors left on the bloody battlefield. Yeon, the lone hard mode player, is pushed to her absolute limit. Her strength fails as the last monster falls. She collapses into the dirt, drenched in sweat. Behind her lies a graveyard of those who couldn't survive. It's a grim sight. The survivors finally realize that in this apocalypse, fleeing only leads to a certain death. Most faced a pathetic end, dying without hope. The weight of the world's cruelty settles over the silent field. Damn it. I should have led them better. The bitter taste of loss lingers even in their hard-won victory. The barrier dissolves. Yeon's first thought is of Taesan, fearing he might be in danger fighting all alone. She drags her broken body forward to find him, but her consciousness fades, and she stumbles toward the ground. Suddenly, Taesan is there, catching her mid-fall. A small smirk plays on his lips as he helps her up. The immediate threat is over, but the path to becoming the king of the apocalypse has only just begun. Will Taesan truly save this world? Don't miss the next chapter of this epic saga. See you soon.